Talking. Thinking. Drake talking and sacred gear sounds. Drake thinking. Expression. Flashback. Chapter 7, Forgiveness is Earned. Zenobia had been unconscious for over 4 hours now. While her body wasn't weak, in any sense of the word, taking a brutal punch from Sarayorg, then exhausting all her energy in a final attack, had drained her completely. As she returned to consciousness, she found that she wasn't in as much pain as she expected. "I was wondering when you would wake up," said a voice, getting Zenobia to turn in its direction. Zenobia stared blankly at the person before turning her head away. "What are you doing here?" Issei asked Zenobia, as the newly reincarnated angel walked up to her bedside. "I saw the game, heard everything too," Issei muttered, getting Zenobia to look at him. "Did you come to gloat?" "I wouldn't hold it against you if you did, we couldn't win without you," queried Zenobia. "No, I'm not that petty. True, I tore into you all on the club room, and I don't regret anything I said, but I was venting a bit as well," confessed Issei. "You weren't wrong," Zenobia added, to which Issei nodded. "So why are you here?" asked Zenobia. "Like I said, I heard everything, particularly what you said," said Issei. Zenobia turned her head away from Issei again. "I meant it all, whether you agree or disagree with it doesn't matter," said Zenobia. "Who said I disagree with it? I was surprised in fact, especially that you were the one to say all of that." "Why?" asked Issei curiously. "The way we all turned on you, it is just like what happened to me with the church." Zenobia started, looking back at Issei again. "I knew something that they didn't want to acknowledge and was turned on because of it. While the circumstances are not identical, I feel as though the intent between both situations is similar enough that I feel guilty and ashamed of myself," said Zenobia. "So you mean to say, if they weren't similar, you wouldn't feel guilty?" asked Issei curiously. "Don't twist my words, you know I'm not the most intellectual individual," retorted Zenobia. "What we did was wrong, there is no question there. The reason I feel extra guilty is because I should have understood enough to not turn on you. I know how much that hurts, and then I did the same in turn, to someone who has been nothing but nice to me," said Zenobia sourly. "Well, you weren't there at that time, so how could you know?" said Issei airily. "I realize that. That isn't why I feel bad. The fact that I turned on you, without even understanding your reluctance and thinking only of Rias, is why I feel bad. The church thought only of keeping their faith and I thought only of Rias. Either way, both of us were overlooked by those we thought we could trust. That's why I feel bad," explained Zenobia. I never thought of it like that," said Issei thoughtfully, placing a hand under his face and scratching his jaw. "Although, I still find it strange, how passionately you defended me. I mean Sarayorg can say all he wants, he doesn't know the truth," muttered Issei. "Because, after how much we hurt you, I won't stand for anyone else doing so again," said Zenobia hotly. "Why? That's what I'm not understanding," questioned Issei, genuinely confused. "Even in the beginning, I didn't think much of you, just another devil. However, the way you strongly defended Asia and stood against us was interesting," said Zenobia, getting Issei's face to narrow. "However, the moment where I knew what I thought of you changed, was when you asked Lord Michael to allow me to pray," said Zenobia. "Why? Change to what?" queried Issei. "That was the point I realized why the others liked you, and the point I started to like you as more than a friend," said Zenobia with a small smile. "I told you that I wanted to join you peerage in the future, as I wanted to stay with you, however, now that is impossible and furthermore, we hurt you," said Zenobia with a small frown, before turning away again. Issei didn't respond for a minute, absorbing what Zenobia said. "Do you really mean all that?" asked Issei softly, getting Zenobia to look back at him. "Every word, I love you Issei," said Zenobia, getting Issei to inhale sharply. "How can I trust that you won't hurt me again?" asked Issei quietly. "I promise on my honor as a knight and on my blade," said Zenobia strongly, getting Issei to look at her with a searching look. Issei suddenly smiled and it eased Zenovia's nerves. "Thank you, Zenobia and I forgive you and would like to be friends again," said Issei hopefully. "I'd like to be more than that, but I will build my trust up with you again first," said Zenobia bluntly, which caused Issei to chuckle. "Well, you know me, I can't stay mad at a great set of boobs for too long, said Issei, somewhat embarrassed. Does that mean you will forgive the others in time? Asked Zenobia curiously, which caused Issei's face to harden. Maybe some, but some, especially Rias and Asia. I won't be able to forgive, they hurt me too much, especially those two, said Issei stiffly. I see, said Zenobia, before the door to the room opened. Oh, I didn't think you would be here, Red Dragon, said the figure that had just entered the room, closing the door behind him. Well, I'm sure you realized by now, I'm full of surprises, Saraorg, said Issei, as the Baal entered the room. I suppose I should apologize first and foremost. I judged you without knowing the situation, and after how desperately she fought for your honor, I would be wrong to do so, said Saraorg. Zenobia didn't respond and merely turned her head away with a small blush, a surprising action from the normally calm, and also shameless, stoic. Yeah, I didn't expect that from Zenobia either, but I can't say I'm upset about it, said Issei kindly, getting Zenovia's blush to increase marginally. Now that you are here though, I know I have no right to ask, but what happened? Asked Saraorg curiously. Like you said, you have no right to ask, this is between me and Gremory's peerage, said Issei, getting a stiff nod from Saraorg. True, but she is my cousin and while beating her in battle does help my reputation, I care for her all the same, said Saraorg firmly. Isn't that the case? Muttered Issei sourly. If you must know, your cousin is a rather selfish person when she wants to be and disregards others and how they feel, said Issei harshly, getting Saraorg to narrow his eyes. What do you mean by that? Asked Saraorg stiffly. What I mean, is there are only so many times a person will risk their life to save you and be taken granted for, before they snap. That's all that happened, said Issei bitterly. Saraorg didn't respond. Although, I heard of you wanting to face me in battle. I also would love to fight you, but not for reputation. I want to fight you because you are someone who cares deeply for his peerage, who care deeply for him in turn. I saw the battle, you are all united. I don't wish to fight you because that was how things would have gone. If I was in this game, I don't want to fight you for prestige either. I want to fight you because you are someone worth fighting, someone who fights for others and sacrifices himself for others as well, declared Issei strongly. Now I feel even guiltier for having questioned your worth. I could not have asked for a more honorable battle. I would enjoy facing you in battle, said Saraorg. That being said, I should warn you, said Issei, getting Saraorg to look at him in interest. I saw you use Toki, so it is only fair I tell you, that I have learned true senjutsu from a master. Furthermore, said Issei, before his wings burst from his back. I'm an angel now and am capable of using light as my weapon, something which is absolutely toxic for a devil. Finished Issei. Saraorg merely grinned. I'm getting excited already, Saraorg said in anticipation. In any case, releasing my wings broke my key cloak, so I'm going to need to go now. I look forward to our upcoming battle though, also, see you later, Zenobia, said Issei, before disappearing in a burst of light. That Issei sure is something, commented Saraorg with a laugh, before exiting the room, leaving Zenobia alone. He is, thought Zenobia, happy that Issei had forgiven her. Line break. Issei arrived home and was startled to find someone already there. Irina, what are you doing here? Also, why are angels suddenly breaking into my house this week? Asked Issei, before whispering the second part. Irina was sitting on the sofa and fidgeted. Issei, struggled Irina, before she simply stood up and offered something to Issei, with her head bowed. Issei looked at it in surprise. Is this what I think it is? Asked Issei curiously, as he took the offered object. Yep, I've kept it all this time, said Irina cheerfully, with a forced smile. Issei looked at the object. It was a cardboard dagger, held together with tape. Why are you giving this to me? Asked Issei quietly. Issei, I'm really sorry, said Irina sadly. Issei looked at her and frowned. Issei gave her back the cardboard dagger and Irina felt as though her heart had been torn out. Issei then disappeared in a flash of light and Irina dropped to her knees, tears beginning to fall from her eyes. He won't forgive me, thought Irina sadly, before another flash of light occurred and Issei was back in front of her. Issei, said Irina with a sniff, which turned to shock when she saw what Issei was holding. In Issei's hand was another crudely made cardboard dagger. "Issei, you kept yours as well," said Irina in surprise, from her place on the ground. Issei offered her his hand and she took it, standing back to her feet and quickly wiped her eyes. "Of course I did. You were my first and only friend growing up. When you left, it was one of the only things I had left to remember you by, even if I thought you were a boy," said Issei quietly. Irina gave a small giggle at this, but it was strangled. "I still can't believe you thought I was a boy," said Irina softly, as she blinked away her tears. "You know, Irina, out of all the people who turned on me, yours probably hurt me the most," said Issei sadly. Irina looked at Issei sadly. "I'm sorry, Issei, I didn't know about what had happened to you," said Irina. "I know, that's why I'm not upset with you like I am with those four," said Issei, growling towards the end. "But even before all of this, before Drake, before becoming a devil, before all of it, you were my friend," said Issei sadly. I am so sorry, Issei," said Irina tearfully. "Out of everyone there, you should have been on my side. It really hurt when you agreed with everyone that I was the bad guy," said Issei, as he grimaced slightly in pain. "Issei, what can I do to make it up to you?" asked Irina desperately. Issei thought on this for a moment. "Show me your wings," said Issei, and after a moment of confusion, Irina complied, revealing her 2 wings to Issei. "If you have impure thoughts outside of love, you'll fall, won't you?" questioned Issei rhetorically, already knowing the answer. Irina nodded. "Then kiss me here and now," said Issei, getting Irina to blush. What?" stuttered Irina in embarrassment. "If you really love me, you won't fall, right? If you don't fall, it will mean you love me, truly love me. Gabriel told me that an angel who follows their heart, not out of sin, but out of love, won't ever be able to fall. That is why, if you really love me, this will prove it without a doubt," said Issei calmly. Irina took a moment to absorb what Issei had said and nodded her head. "Will you do it?" asked Issei curiously. I will. I love you, Issei, and if this is what I need to do to prove it, then I will gladly do it," declared Irina boldly, as she placed her cardboard dagger down on the coffee table. Issei walked over to the table as well, placing his dagger down next to Irina's and turned to face her. Irina's heartbeat quickened, as she drew closer to Issei, taking in his stern-looking face and calming brown eyes. Irina stepped closer to Issei, until she was only a hair's breadth away from touching him, and angled her head upwards, eyes half closing, as she leaned in. Issei brought his face closer to Irina's, so close that she could feel his warm breath against her face. "Last chance to change your mind," whispered Issei. "My mind is made up, I love you," whispered Irina, before pressing her lips against Issei's. Issei reciprocated the kiss, wrapping his left arm around Irina's waist while his right gently caressed her cheek and neck, deepening the kiss. Both had closed their eyes and in that moment, only felt each other. Irina was in bliss. She had been waiting for this moment for months now, and after what had transpired, worried that it might never happen, but Issei was really kissing her. After a few more seconds, the two broke the kiss, eyes opening slowly. Irina looked into Issei's eyes happily. Issei looked behind Irina briefly, before turning his gaze back to Irina's. "I love you, Irina, and I guess this means you really love me as well," said Issei happily, which caused Irina to shed a tear. Irina still had 2 pure white wings behind her, and that was all the evidence that Issei needed. Suddenly though, Issei started to tear up, which surprised Irina, even more so when he pulled her into a hug and buried his face into her shoulder. "Just please promise me," said Issei weakly. "Please promise me that you will always love me and won't turn on me again," Issei continued tearfully. You had so much more of my heart than anyone in that room, because you weren't just a girl I liked, you were my friend even before all that. My precious childhood friend," said Issei, getting Irina's eyes to widen. "As far as everyone in that room went, you were irreplaceable to me," said Issei, getting Irina's heart to soar. Irina gently pulled Issei's head off her shoulder and looked into his bloodshot eyes. "I love you, Issei, now and forever," said Irina, before giving Issei another kiss, which he happily reciprocated. "I love you too, Irina, now and forever," said Issei with a smile. Talking. Thinking. Drake talking and sacred gear sounds. Drake thinking. Expression. Flashback. Chapter 8, Enemies tell no lies. Issei woke up with a smile on his face as he hopped out of bed. Things were getting better once again. Irina and Zenobia had both been forgiven and had both showed true devotion to him. He felt tingly inside, just remembering how things went with Irina. He was really glad his childhood friend was back on his side. Walking into the bathroom, Issei turned on the hot water for the shower and once it was at a good temperature, stepped in. After showering, he grabbed a towel and dried off his body, before wrapping it around his waist and grabbed another one to wipe his face, standing in front of the mirror. Wiping the last bit of moisture off, he used it to wipe the mirror down to have a look at himself. As he pulled the towel away, he flinched. "Ah, what's the matter, not happy to see me?" said the woman in the mirror. "What do you want? Haven't you done enough?" growled Issei hatefully, staring at the visage of Rainare, his constant source of torment. "Me? What have I done? I never hurt you, little Issei," cooed Rainare. Issei growled, baring his teeth. "What's the matter? Are you still upset you never got to feel my boobs? Is that it?" teased Rainare. Issei clenched his fist. "Or maybe, you're just upset because deep down, you know that all of those girls are just like me," said Rainare darkly. Issei's fist shot out and smashed the mirror, cracking it heavily and leaving a hole in the middle, but he could still see Rainare's face around it. "Will you die for me?" Line break. Issei suddenly sat up sharply in bed. "Damn bitch!" grumbled Issei in annoyance, before feeling 2 mounds press against his back. "Naya, was it the crow again?" asked Kurika curiously, as she draped her arms around Issei. "Yeah," muttered Issei, relaxing his right fist that he had unknowingly clenched. "You know, no matter what she did, you'll always have me," purred Kurika comfortingly. "Yeah," muttered Issei, relaxing a little more. "That's better. Besides, who cares about her, or even them for that matter?" questioned Kurika. "You know, you can't fool me," said Issei quietly. What do you mean?" asked Kurika curiously. "I know you want to fix things with Ko Chiron," said Issei. "I know, but I don't want to hurt you either," agreed Kurika. "No matter what she did to me, she is your sister. The love for a sibling is something to cherish," said Issei quietly. "As is the love for a loved one," added Kurika. "I know," said Issei, before going quiet. "Well, how'd things go yesterday? I came by here late at night and felt the presence of an angel that wasn't you," questioned Kurika. "Zenobia and I patched things up. After that, I came here, where Irina was waiting, and we fixed things between us as well, maybe even more than that," recounted Issei. "Oh, is that so? Do I have competition?" joked Kurika. "No, the pieces of my heart you two hold are both very different. Irina was my childhood friend, before even all this, and you accepted me for who I am, even if it was also for your own ambitions, and took my virginity," said Issei seriously. That makes it sound like you and I don't have a deep emotional connection at all," said Kurika, with a frown, only for Issei to turn his head and kiss her. "You also love me and I love you, even if it is rather new," added Issei. "That's more like it," smiled Kurika, before giving Issei another kiss. "Thank God it's Friday." "Oops, sorry about that," said Issei, with a deep sigh, before apologizing to Kurika, when he felt her wince. "Well, you are an angel, I suppose. I'll learn to deal with it," said Kurika, with a wry grin. "Yeah, I'll try to be careful though, but now I need to go to school," said Issei, as he tried to get up, only for Kurika to swiftly move in front of him and sit in his lap. "Are you sure you don't want to do something else first?" cooed Kurika, looking at Issei with half-lidded eyes. Issei picked up the amorous Nico Shao and put her on the bed, before getting up and heading to the shower. Kurika pouted as Issei left her there and heard him turn on the water. She was about to leave, before Issei popped his head back in the bedroom. "Well? Are you coming or what?" asked Issei teasingly, before disappearing again. Kurika gave a Cheshire-like smirk, before following after Issei. Line break. Issei walked into his classroom, with a small smile on his face and sat down at his desk. Content. "What are you so happy about?" asked Motohama suspiciously. The usual," replied Issei. "Usual? What would that be?" queried Matsuda. Issei merely smirked, causing his two perverted friends to fume. Damn you Issei! They both shouted, to which Issei laughed. Morning Issei. How are you today? Asked a very chipper Irina, as she stood to the left of Issei's desk. Morning Irina, how's my best childhood friend doing? Replied Issei, causing Irina to beam. Great. The Lord's presence is very strong today. Replied Irina happily. I'm glad. Said Issei, with a nod and small smile, enjoying Irina's presence significantly more than previously. So how are you Issei? Asked Irina curiously. Will you die for me? Issei flinched for the barest of moments, but Irina noticed it. Are you still thinking about the past? Questioned Irina, with a small frown. Issei's expression soured for a moment, before he felt Irina place her hand on his shoulder. It's okay Issei. Said Irina, before leaning closer to Issei. I'll never leave your side again. Whispered Irina softly, while giving Issei a beautiful smile. Issei returned her smile once she leaned back. Thanks Irina, I needed that. Confessed Issei, which only caused his childhood friend's smile to grow. Anytime. What are friends for? Remarked Irina, before taking her seat to the immediate left of Issei. Turning back to the front, Issei was greeted to the sour expressions of Matsuda and Motohama. Another beautiful girl Issei. Don't you already have one? Stop hugging them all. Complained Motohama. At the very least, share some with us. Added Matsuda, with Motohama nodding in agreement. No. Said Issei in annoyance, standing up from his chair and slamming his hands against his desk. If you want girls, get them yourselves. You both have traits that girls find desirable such as athleticism and intelligence, but instead, do nothing but watch stupid porn all the time. Shouted Issei, getting Motohama and Matsuda to gasp, and quite a few girls in the class to look at him in shock. Did Hyudo just say porn was stupid? Muttered a girl to her nearest neighbor. Blasphemy! Shouted the two perverts. Yeah, well here is what I think about your stupid porn. Said Issei, as he stepped over to Irina and grasped her face. Issei, what are you do MMPH? Started Irina, only to be cut off mid-word, as Issei leaned down and pressed his lips against hers. The class gaped at Issei's brazen actions, while Matsuda and Motohama looked like they had just been stabbed. Issei decided to be slightly more adventurous in his kissing this time, and gently pushed his tongue into Irina's mouth, who allowed it after a brief moment. Irina moaned into the kiss, not caring that she was currently making out with her previously perverted and loathed by most, childhood friend, in the middle of their classroom, filled with their fellow students. To her, there was only Issei and herself at that moment. After a full 30 seconds of tongue-justing, Issei pulled back and spared a moment to look at Irina lovingly, before turning back to his former perverted brothers. And that's why your porn is stupid, it pales in comparison to a real woman. Declared Issei, before sitting back down with a smile, looking over to Irina, who had now regained herself and was blushing slightly, under the gazes of her fellow classmates. Well, I suppose you're feeling better now. Commented a new arrival to the class. Issei followed the voice and saw Zenovia with her usual stoic expression. Yeah, I guess I am. Said Issei, giving Zenovia a smile as well. Zenovia then pulled out a condom and looked at Issei. Too soon? Asked Zenovia curiously, while the rest of the class looked at her in shock. A little. Chuckled Issei, to which Zenovia nodded before placing the condom back, wherever it was she got it from. As Zenovia went to take her seat, the teacher finally showed up just as the bell rang and class got underway. Line break. After a rather normal day of class, during which Issei spent a fair bit of time zoning off in thought, the day was over. Gathering his things and getting ready to leave, Issei was accosted by the two former exorcists, turned supernatural beings. Issei, can I come over now? Asked Irina eagerly. I too would like to continue spending time with you for now. Added Zenovia, with a nod. Sure, why not? Said Issei happily, after which the three left. In the classroom that the trio had just vacated, a certain green-eyed blonde was looking down at her lap unhappily. Issei, thought Asia sadly, before grabbing her things and heading to the club room. Line break. As the two angels and devil neared the front gate of their school, another blonde, this one possessing blue eyes, was waiting for Issei, who stopped to listen to the figure. Issei, may I speak with you? Asked Ravel timidly, a little surprised at seeing her romantic interest walking with two people, which he had previously denounced. Sure. Is it quick? Asked Issei, with a raised eyebrow. Not particularly, answered Ravel. In that case, follow me, we can discuss whatever it is at my new house, said Issei coolly, as he started walking again, now with 3 people following him. As the newly formed quartet left the school, a pair of violet eyes were staring at Issei's back intently. I don't know how yet, but I'm not letting the one man who accepted me for who I truly am, get away from me, thought Akeno determinedly. Line break. As the group neared Issei's apartment, Issei quickly used his newly acquired senjutsu prowess to sense if Kuriko was there. After a moment, he confirmed she had returned back to wherever her group was, which Issei actually still didn't know. As the foursome finally reached Issei's room in the apartment block, which he owned alone, he let his 3 guests in, who all sat on his couch while he stood. So, what's up, Ravel? Asked Issei casually, crossing his arms over his chest and leaning against the wall behind him, staring at his guests. Well, my mother would actually like to speak with you. I am not sure what for, although I do have my suspicions, said Ravel succinctly. I see, said Issei, rubbing his chin in thought. Well, if that's the case, I'd be happy to, maybe I'll be able to track down Sereorg and have that fight with him, said Issei thoughtfully. If you'd like, I could set up the necessary preparations for you and alert Sereorg Bale of your intentions, said Ravel quickly. Really? That would be great, Ravel, thanks, said Issei, giving the phoenix a genuine smile, which made her heart flutter. Oh, of course, it is only natural you take advantage of such a skilled organizer such as I. Said Ravel, with fake haughtiness. If that's the case, how would you feel about helping me deal with all my Oppai Dragon stuff? To be honest, aside from changing where the money is going, a lot of the other organizational stuff goes right over my head. I could use your help if it wouldn't be any trouble, asked Issei modestly. I would be more than happy to, replied Ravel, which caused Issei to smile once again. Thank you, Ravel, I'll truly be in your debt for this. It was a nightmare just doing the transfer, said Issei humbly, before letting out a chuckle towards the end. Leave it all to me, I will be the best manager ever, declared Ravel proudly. All right. In that case, if Sereorg is free, I'll come to the underworld tomorrow, considering it is the weekend, said Issei, getting an attentive nod from Ravel. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. Feeling the presence of a certain annoying fallen angel, Issei frowned. What do you want, Azazel? Shouted Issei, loud enough for the faction leader to hear him. May I come in? Asked Azazel through the door. If you are alone, sure, said Issei, after which the fallen angel entered. You have company, interesting company at that, commented Azazel, looking over the 3 sitting on his couch. What do you want? Asked Issei tiredly. Well, it isn't so much what I want, rather, what someone else wants. It is rather sensitive information right now, so I will only say that someone not directly allied with us wants to meet with you, said Azazel. Why do I get the feeling that you are leaving a rather crucial piece of information out? Asked Issei, with narrowed eyes. Come now, you must know I would never do that, chuckled Azazel, but it didn't fool Issei. Sigh, I can't say who this person is, only that they do have a rather high standing in the world, said Azazel truthfully. I see, said Issei slowly. Well, that's all I had to say for now, see you around, said Azazel, before leaving. So, anything you guys want to do now? Asked Issei curiously. Not particularly, since you said it is too soon for us to make a baby, said Zenovia, getting both Irina and Ravel to widen their eyes. Zenovia, you are still too forward, exclaimed Irina. Such improper behavior, commented Ravel, appearing affronted. Any other suggestions? Asked Issei. After a brief pause, Issei proposed an idea. Well, we could always head to the underworld now. Maybe Sereorg is free and I can have the fight now, as well as seeing whatever Lady Phoenix wants, suggested Issei. Well, I don't mind, but is it a good idea for 2 angels to come to the underworld? Asked Zenovia. True, such a movement could cause discontent, especially since some are disgruntled that the Red Dragon has now defected to heaven. They may try something, if not against you, possibly against Irina, said Ravel hesitantly. That's fine, Anyone who tries to fight me will understand why you shouldn't provoke those who can use your weakness against you, and if anyone tries to touch Irina, I'll smite them where they stand, said Issei calmly, before growling towards the end. Irina's heart soared at this, with Ravel and Zenobia both hoping no one actually tried anything. Very well then, we can head off at once, said Ravel, as she stood up and motioned for the rest of them to gather, before utilizing a special magic circle, which could carry all types of supernatural creatures to the underworld. Line break. The four reappeared outside the Phoenix Manor. While Zenobia, Irina, and Issei glanced around in interest, Ravel walked up to the gates and spoke with the guard stationed there. After a brief conversation, the gates opened and Ravel gestured for the three to follow her. Any problems? Asked Issei curiously, as he examined the land of the Phoenix clan. No, there was some hesitancy at your presence, but my assurance was enough to dissuade any ill thoughts towards you and Irina, replied Ravel succinctly. As the quartet entered the manor, Irina and Zenobia looked around in surprise, while Issei simply raised an eyebrow. It is very lavish, commented Issei, seeing enough gold to buy a continent in the hallway alone. The ceiling was very high, easily more than 10 meters above ground level. The hallway was expansive, so much so, that it felt as though it was a room by itself. Dozens of phoenix statues made out of pure gold were placed every few meters, somehow able to remain solid, even with the brightly burning flames within the mouth of each sculpture. Yes, well, it has been built upon by generations of Phoenix clan members. Some of the fixtures in the building are older than the current Satans and some are only as old as you. The Phoenix deals with regeneration from the ashes and this is reflected in the design of the structure, explained Ravel. Come, I will show the two of you around after I alert my mother. Issei, please remain here for someone to take you to mother, requested Ravel, before leading Irina and Zenobia away. Issei stood there in silence, merely examining the luxurious hallway in interest. After a minute had passed, Issei's guide arrived and it was certainly not someone he was expecting. Hello, Red Dragon, we meet again, said Riser, one of Ravel's older brothers and someone who Issei had beaten the stuffing out of in the past. How are you, Riser? I recall you had been traumatized by me somewhat, queried Issei blankly. Riser grimaced at the reminder of his past, before moving past it. In any case, I will take you to mother, please follow me, said Riser, before turning on his heel, with Issei following. As the two walked, only the sound of their light footfalls was heard. The tension was rather heavy between the two for different reasons. Eventually, Riser broke the silence. I realize this is personal, but I am curious and given the state of things, I do believe I have some personal stake in this as well, started Riser, before Issei interjected. Let me guess, you want to know what happened with Gremory, right? Questioned Issei, getting Riser to stop momentarily and face Issei, before walking off again. Gremory, how odd, such a cold manner of speaking, commented Riser. Cold? Hardly, scoffed Issei. This being a woman you nearly killed yourself for. I find it hard to believe you would act like this, said Riser. Ah, how surprising. Even you could see what she couldn't, hilarious, droned Issei. At this point Riser stopped walking completely and turned to face Issei. What do you mean? What can I see that she couldn't? Questioned Riser in genuine confusion. Riser, you saw how hard I fought for Gremory, both during the raiding game and in our battle of single combat. Why do you think I would go so far? Risk utter destruction. Sacrifice parts of my body permanently. Place my own being into danger, the likes of which could end with my utter eradication. What do you think that means? Asked Issei, as he stopped walking as well. Well, initially, I thought you were merely fighting your hardest due to the famed Gremory kindness and that it was that which motivated you to push yourself to your limits, began Riser. And what did you think it was afterwards? Questioned Issei. Lust at first, but then I thought to myself, that is what motivated me, which she found revolting, answered Riser honestly. Towards the end though, right before you defeated me, I saw something different, love. Finished Riser. I see, you saw that I loved her at that point. Now, imagine me doing so over and over again, numerous times, each time, coming closer and closer to death. Tell me, don't you think that she should have realized I loved her by then? Asked Issei darkly. She did though, said Riser, before noticing Issei's stony expression. Didn't she? Finished Riser. No. She didn't. The spoiled princess that is Rias Gremory, only thought of her own needs and desires. Her lowly pawn, one who literally sacrificed limb to protect her interests, was chided for not understanding her and not being able to show his love to her. Apparently, nearly dying on multiple occasions just to keep a smile on someone's face, is not proof of one's love to another. I honestly think you are the lucky one, Riser. Despite it all, you never had your heart toyed with and broken to pieces by a woman you loved and would give your life for. Now though, if she was to express her undying love to me, I'd laugh in her face. Said Issei calmly. Will you die for me? She is a true devil. Growled Issei unhappily. Riser was momentarily speechless and so, resumed walking, leading Issei once more, who promptly followed. Eventually, the duo reached a set of ornate double doors, easily 3 meters in height. Riser placed his hand against the door handle and prepared to open it, only to pause. No matter what happens or is said in there, please take care of my sister, Issei. As someone who understands heartbreak, please don't cause her the same, and if you do not reciprocate her feelings, please be gentle with her. Said Riser, before opening the door and gesturing for Issei to enter alone. Issei walked past Riser and entered the room. As Riser made to close the door, he heard Issei mutter one last thing. I swear it. Whispered Issei, before the doors shut behind him. Riser stared at the closed doors for a moment, before walking off. Thank you, Issei Hyuda. Thought Riser, as he walked off, to go and check up on his sister. Talking. Thinking. Drake talking and sacred gear sounds. Drake thinking. Expression. Flashback. Chapter 9, Clash of Titans. Issei entered the room and found it to be just as lavish as the rest of the Phoenix Manor. The only difference, a key one at that, was the presence of a woman, who looked like an older Ravel. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me on such short notice, Red Dragon. Said Lady Phoenix amicably. It was no trouble at all, I honestly had nothing better to do. Said Issei, studying the woman currently sitting in a rich red armchair, encrusted with rubies. Please sit, I've prepared some tea as well. Said Lady Phoenix, gesturing to a similarly fancy chair opposite her, as well as a small table, holding 2 cups of tea on a pure silver tray. Issei obliged the older devil's wishes and made his way to the opulent chair, before sitting down. I've been told you wanted to speak to me, but not what it would concern. Said Issei, a hint of suspicion in his tone. Yes, I've not made my intentions for this conversation known to anyone. I would also prefer if you keep the details of this conversation private, between only us. Said Lady Phoenix calmly. Why would you want that? If what you say can be harmful, I won't lie to those I care about. Questioned Issei sternly. Oh no, nothing harmful, although, I am glad that you would not wish to hurt those close to you. Said Lady Phoenix. I believe that for the rest of my life, I will try not to, considering how much I disliked it. Said Issei bitterly. I do extend my apologies for the recent falling out you experienced. Said Lady Phoenix kindly, with Issei's frown lessening slightly. In any case, what did you want to talk about? Asked Issei, hoping to move the conversation forward. Very well then. I will be honest, but in advance, forgive me for bringing up any bad memories for you. You see, when you broke Riser's engagement, our house suffered for it. Started Lady Phoenix, noting Issei's expression souring, at being reminded of the past. Well, with what happened, it has been tough for the Phoenix, as far as our reputation is concerned. Continued Lady Phoenix. I don't see where you are going with this. Interjected Issei bluntly. Very well, let me hasten to the main point of this conversation then. The Phoenix clan would very much like to form an alliance with you, the Red Dragon. As you can imagine, becoming an angel sent ripples through our society, so a link back to the devils, would do much to ease tensions. Explained Lady Phoenix. Just why should I? I mean, I have nothing against you, but I don't particularly relish the idea of getting sucked back in, with all this devil business I've left behind. Queried Issei. Well, we would require very little of you, in fact, almost nothing at all, barring you publicly approving of us, even just having a good relationship with some of our members, would be sufficient. Elaborated Lady Phoenix. So, this has to do with Ravel then? Asked Issei calmly. Indeed. You see, as you may have guessed, I am familiar with the events that transpired recently and to be honest, While I am a devil, I can also see your point of view and can understand why you would react the way you did," said Lady Phoenix, only for Issei to dryly laugh. "You can understand the way I would react? With all due respect, the fact of the matter was, no one did understand me, so please don't act like you do," said Issei sardonically. "I never claimed to understand exactly how you felt, merely that I could understand being hurt at being unappreciated. Of course, I have no idea how you felt personally, I was merely stating that your reaction was understandable, not your emotions at the time," reiterated Lady Phoenix, which caused Issei to give a small hum, but not speak. "However, your feelings are not what I wanted to discuss with you today, but rather, the feelings of another," said Lady Phoenix calmly. "Ravel," said Issei simply, getting a nod from Lady Phoenix. "You see, she holds herself responsible for what happened," started Lady Phoenix, only for Issei to cut her off. "What do you mean? Ravel had nothing to do with this at all. She did nothing wrong," said Issei in shock. "I have told her as such, but she didn't seem too agreeable with me. I understand you have already told her you hold nothing against her, but if you could assure her on her innocence in the matter, I would greatly appreciate it," continued Lady Phoenix, getting Issei to adopt a thoughtful expression and rub his chin in thought. After a brief lull, Lady Phoenix spoke up again. "Would you mind if I speak honestly for a moment here?" asked Lady Phoenix, to which Issei quirked an eyebrow, but nodded nonetheless. "I hope you have realized by now, but Ravel cares for you, that is, more than a friend," said Lady Phoenix, getting a small nod from Issei. "That being said, in light of what happened, she feels unworthy of pursuing her romantic interest in you, as she blames herself for what happened to you. To this end, I only ask that you be honest with her from this point on. If you return her feelings, please do make this obvious, as I'm sure you know now, the sense of unknowing and uncertainty can be crippling. Ravel is young, so should you break things off with her now, gently, she won't be too damaged by it. However, I simply ask that you don't string her along, if you don't return her feelings," requested Lady Phoenix softly. "I see. Riser asked me something similar and I'll give you the same general reply. I swear I won't hurt Ravel. Ravel is a friend of mine and perhaps something more. I can't say for sure yet, but I do like her. I will try to understand myself and my feelings for her as soon as possible, as I don't want to string her along," confessed Issei honestly. "That's all a mother could ask for, thank you," said Lady Phoenix calmly. Issei gave a small nod, before grasping the cup of tea set for him, downed it, and then stood up. "If we are done here, I would prefer to meet up with Ravel and the others. Not to be rude, but while you and maybe a few others are fine with me, I don't think Devil Society, as a whole, is too pleased with me right now," said Issei. "Of course, please, follow me," requested Lady Phoenix, before standing up herself and walked to the door, with Issei following. As the duo walked through the extravagant building, Issei walked with a calm detachment, thinking on his most recent conversation. Lady Phoenix meanwhile, was content to walk in silence. After a few minutes, they reached another door, just as large and just as decorated as the one Issei had entered previously. This would be one of the living rooms in this house, closer to Ravel's room. "No doubt, she would be here, I'm sure, after her little tour," said Lady Phoenix. "Thank you," said Issei calmly, before reaching for the handle. "Also, one last thing I'd like to say. Ravel is still growing at this point, both mentally and physically. However, even among devils, they say, if you want to know what a daughter will look like when she grows up, look no further than her mother," said Lady Phoenix, before giving a smile and turning on her heel and leaving. Whether voluntarily or not, Issei's eyes followed Lady Phoenix's form, as she walked away, paying close attention to the sway of her hips, before shaking his head. "Not exactly what I was expecting from Ravel and Riser's mother," thought Issei in surprise. Issei opened the large door and was greeted to a room that was equally large and well furnished as the one he had left. Only in this room, Irina, Zenobia, and Ravel were present. Irina and Zenobia were sitting on a three-seater sofa, across from Ravel, on a three-seater of her own, both in luxurious red upholstery. Ravel was sitting in the middle of her sofa, while Irina and Zenobia were sitting on either end of their sofa. "Issei, you're back," exclaimed Ravel in surprise, as she had turned to face whoever had opened the door and cited Issei. Yeah, shouldn't I be?" asked Issei in confusion. "Oh, No, of course not. I was just surprised. Mother usually talks for a while, I wasn't expecting you back for at least another hour. Said Ravel in embarrassment. Well, I didn't really want to leave you all alone for too long, so once we finished with the main reason for her wanting to talk to me, I requested to leave and then she brought me here. Explained Issei. Mother brought you herself? Asked Ravel in bafflement. Yes. Said Issei questioningly. Ravel gave a small jump as a small magic circle appeared next to her ear, giving a few nods here and there. After a moment, she turned to Issei. Issei, would you like to have your battle with Sereorg today? Asked Ravel curtly. Sure, why not? Said Issei, after a moment of thought. In that case, Issei accepts, shall we say 1 hour from now? Asked Ravel, communicating through the magic circle. After another pause, Ravel gave a small nod to herself, before the magic circle disappeared. Well, it seems you will be able to fight Sereorg very soon. In fact, I'm actually quite surprised at how quickly everything has been organized. It seems that a great deal many wanted to see the Red Dragon face off against the strongest youth. Said Ravel. Not to sound pessimistic, but are you sure you can handle Sereorg, Issei? He is outrageously strong. Asked Zenobia, rubbing her stomach in memory of her battle with Sereorg. Well, it has been a while since I fought with anyone, but considering that the last person I've fought with was Kurika, an outrageously strong devil in her own right, I think I can handle it. Said Issei thoughtfully. You do have the advantage of being an angel as well. Added Irina. Yeah, but I'm thinking about not using my light powers against him. Confessed Issei, surprising the others. Why? Asked Irina in confusion. Well, it's no secret that most devils aren't too happy with my change, so I was thinking it would be best to keep things under wraps. I still have the boosted gear and senjutsu though, so I don't think I'll be too inconvenienced. Explained Issei. Well, politically, that is a wise move, but are you sure you can combat Sereorg otherwise? Asked Ravel carefully. Of course, I might not have the ability to promote, but with senjutsu, my body is more resistant, my attacks are stronger, and my magical prowess is higher. It is like I am promoting when using it, so I don't really think it will be that difficult for me. Said Issei. Well, no matter what, we'll be cheering you on, right? Asked Irina. Yes, it will be a great battle too. Added Zenobia. Where will the fight be? Asked Issei. The same arena where Sereorg had his most recent battle. Said Ravel hesitantly. I see, so the same place where Zenobia fought him, fitting, I suppose. Said Issei calmly. There was an extended pause at this point, reflecting the awkwardness around avoiding a certain Gremory's name. Should we make our way there now then? Asked Issei. Very well, it will take a minute or two to get there if we transport, but it will take a while to set up the circle to carry all of us. Said Ravel, before Issei plopped himself down beside her. Yon, just let me know when it's ready, I might take a small nap now. Said Issei tiredly, before resting his left elbow on the armrest and then resting his head on his fist, closing his eyes. Line break. Issei felt a hand caressing his cheek and leaned into it slightly. The hand was soft, soothing and made Issei smile. Oh, does that feel good, Issei? Asked a familiar voice which caused his eyes to snap open. There in front of him, was not Rainare, but rather, her other form, Yuma Amano. Isn't it bad enough that you taunt me, now you do it in 2 forms? Grumbled Issei. Fine, fine, I just thought you might appreciate a more innocent face. Said Yuma, before morphing back into Rainare. Scoff, you are anything but innocent. Grumbled Issei. Oh, come now, Issei, compare me to all the others and you know I am just as innocent. I have to admit though, that lady, she's certainly wordier than I thought, said Rainare, with a smirk. I'm not stupid. I know what Lady Phoenix was trying to do. Said Issei calmly. Rainare simply tapped her index finger on his nose. Yet you didn't call her on it. Sometimes Issei, I wonder if you like being pushed around and played with. First there was me, then Rias, now there's another. Said Rainare mockingly, causing Issei to growl. I hate you so much. Growled Issei. Oh, Issei, your words wound me, or at least they would, if they were true. Said Rainare, leaning closer to Issei. I do hate you. Insisted Issei, even as Rainare drew closer to him. Oh, Issei, We both know that isn't the truth," said Rainare, as she leaned in closer to Issei and briefly pressed her lips against his. Issei quickly pulled back and wiped his lips with his right hand, making Rainare laugh. "I know you felt it, Issei. You know the truth, you just can't accept it," said Rainare mockingly, before fading away. Line break. Issei grumbled as his eyes opened. That definitely wasn't one of his better dreams, but considering things, it wasn't his worst. Issei gave a big inhale and stretched his arms up, high over his head, before standing up. It seemed he had been left alone to rest, as Irina, Zenovia and Ravel weren't present. Issei walked to the door and opened it, only to be surprised at who was on the other side. "Riser, what are you doing here?" asked Issei in confusion. "To take you to the transport point when you woke up, of course," said Riser, before walking off, with Issei following. "So, how are things with you recently, Riser?" asked Issei. "Your attempt at making small talk is amusing," said Riser, with a grin. "Well, sorry for trying to be polite," grumbled Issei. "To answer your question, I've been training. I want to get back into raiding games sometime soon, so I'm preparing both myself and my peerage," said Riser. "I never would have pictured you for the training type," confessed Issei. "I wasn't, considering I had never lost before. I had only ever relied on my immortality, which was usually enough," laughed Riser. "I guess not many devils have access to holy water," commented Issei, getting Riser to laugh again. "No, but I do enjoy it, it turns out," admitted Riser. "Holy water?" asked Issei in surprise. "No, of course not. Training. There is something about it which makes me feel more alive. I suppose flames aren't meant to sit still, they are meant to rage and grow," said Riser calmly. "Well, good for you. Maybe next time we fight, you might actually stand a chance of beating me," teased Issei. "As I recall, we are even at 1 victory each, don't get cocky," retorted Riser. I guess that's true. We'll need to have a tiebreaker soon then," said Issei thoughtfully. "Well, first, you can fight Sarayorg, I'll be watching in interest as well," said Riser, before stopping in front of a door, once again, large and lavish. "In that case, you're in for quite a show," said Issei, with a smirk. "I'm sure," said Riser, before opening the door. Inside were Ravel, Zenovia and Irina, and in the center of the room was a large, yellow, magic circle. "Oh good, you're here. It's ready to go," said Ravel. "You coming along for the ride, Riser?" asked Issei. "Nah, I'll take myself," said Riser, before disappearing, with the use of his own magic circle. "Show off," grumbled Issei. The four walked to the center of the circle, before Ravel flared her power and the circle activated, rising up from the ground and turning them into particles of light. The group materialized in a spacious floor, with tables and exercise equipment around. It looks identical," commented Zenovia. "Well, it wouldn't be changed, even for a one-on-one battle. In any case, we will go and watch from the stands. The battle will commence in 5 minutes, and an announcement will be made. Good luck," said Ravel, before the girls left Issei alone. Issei took deep breaths and waited. Calming himself down helped him control his senjutsu. It was probably what helped lower his lust and gave Drake more of a break from his perverted thoughts. Without a calm mind, senjutsu was dangerous, but with a calm mind, senjutsu proved an impressive tool. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the special exhibition match today, between the strongest youth, Sarayorg Bale, and the Red Dragon Emperor, Issei Hyuda, declared the announcer, causing Issei to open his eyes. "It's time," said Issei calmly, as he stood up and walked to his entrance to the stadium. Issei ignored the announcer as he hyped up the event and explained the specifics of the battle. It didn't matter to Issei too much. Both combatants wouldn't quit and would keep fighting with any injuries they took. Both knew this fight would only end one way, with the other unconscious. Nothing else would suffice. Issei saw Sarayorg march out, raising his right fist into the air. Issei looked up and saw Sarayorg's peerage looking on and cheering their hero. Issei gave a small smile at this, before hearing his own name called out and stepped out into the stadium as well. As Issei made his way towards Sarayorg, he was surprised to only hear cheers. It seemed, even with becoming an angel, the masses were still on his side. A few quick glances around though and Issei noticed the more official-looking devils were not happy. Their stony gazes watched Issei carefully, studying his every move. "Well, Red Dragon, I guess we will finally find out who is the strongest between us," said Saraorg, with a fearless smile. "The strongest, you say?" commented Issei. "Indeed, this will be a true test of power," continued Saraorg. "In that case, what do you think about a purely physical battle? I must admit, it would be unfair of me to use light powers against you, and I don't believe it would be wise of me to do so either," propositioned Issei. "Are you underestimating me, Red Dragon?" asked Saraorg, as his smile tightened. "Of course not, but I can't be as careless anymore, especially considering where I am. Does it not sound like an even fight? You're Toki and my senjutsu. We both know little magic, and in a one-on-one battle, tactics are not very useful. Why not make this a battle of power? Who can trump the other with their bodies, no fancy or flashy tricks," explained Issei. "Haha, I must admit, that does sound interesting. I truly did want to fight you at your very best, but I can understand not wishing to endanger yourself," laughed Saraorg. "It isn't myself that I worry for, rather, what may happen to others, to get to me," said Issei, with a small frown. "I see, in that case, I accept your challenge, a battle of pure strength. My blood is boiling already," declared Saraorg. "Awesome, in that case, shall we begin?" asked Issei. Saraorg smirked, as a weird mark appeared on all four of his limbs. Shallow lights started to pour out from Saraorg's limbs, before the marks vanished. A huge explosion burst from Saraorg. The wind pressure from the blast formed a crater under him. Saraorg's body was now bathed in a white glow. It was Toki. Issei stood in front of Saraorg, within the crater. "I have to say, I'm impressed. If this was before, I would be hard-pressed to match you, even with the boosted gear. However, I've not been sitting by idly for the past few weeks," commented Issei, before black helical markings spread along his arms, neck, and face. "But I'm not the same person as I was before," finished Issei, as the marks seemed to shatter and a reddish-black glow surrounded him. The ground cratered even more around the two, as the audience watched in awe. In particular though, a certain red-haired observer watched with a pang of regret. "Issei, you've become so strong, without us," thought Rias sadly. Saraorg raised an eyebrow in surprise. "I must say, I've never seen energy of this color before," commented Saraorg. "It comes with being the Red Dragon, and also who trained me. My senjutsu was rather rough to begin with, but with Drake's help along with my instructor, I was able to fit it to myself specifically. It not only draws on my life force, but Drake's as well, along with all the past wielders of the boosted gear. This is why, even if I do not directly use the boosted gear, in this state, I may as well be using it anyway," explained Issei. "How terrifying, you are an interesting person, Issei Hyudo," said Saraorg, with a wide smile. "As are you, but enough talk, now, it is time to speak with our fists," said Issei, raising his right hand in front of him, red and black energy dancing around it. "I wouldn't have it any other way," said Saraorg, before both launched their fists at each other. The crowd instantly flinched, as a massive explosion of light blinded them all momentarily. When the light cleared and everyone regained their vision, the crowd looked on in shock. Behind Issei's right and Saraorg's left, were deep trenches behind them. The clash of fists had shot through both combatants and tore up the ground. Issei looked at his fist in surprise for a moment, bringing it back to his face, before smirking. Saraorg too, gave a smirk, before both disappeared in a flash of light. The stadium was silent, as no one could see or hear anything, before a thunderous echo reverberated through the arena. Issei had launched an elbow at Saraorg's head, with his right arm, while Saraorg had blocked it with both palms. Saraorg swung into action, bring his left fist into an uppercut aimed directly at Issei's solar plexus, only for Issei to harshly swing his right arm down and block the attack with his forearm, causing a massive explosion of energy on impact. The crowd gaped at the power behind each attack, before cheering loudly. The two disappeared once again, before another thunderous explosion was heard. Saraorg and Issei had both grappled each other, pushing against the other. It was a perfect stalemate, despite Saraorg's greater size. The two disappeared again, only to reappear, with their right knees slammed against each other's. In that brief moment, you could notice a smirk of amusement from both of them, before they disappeared again. Numerous explosions continued to ring out throughout the stadium, showing Issei and Sereorg momentarily for a moment, clashing, before disappearing again. The crowd roared in excitement, despite only seeing occasional flashes of the battle. After a few minutes of intense clashes, the duo started to slow down and stopped 2 meters away from each other, both appearing ruffled and slightly out of breath, but still largely uninjured. I must say, Sereorg, this is one hell of a fight. I've never faced someone like you before, someone who throws themselves into battle this way, commented Issei. I agree. It seems the two of us are quite alike. Throwing our bodies into the fight, with reckless abandon. Agreed Sereorg, with a grin. However, now with the test of speed out of the way, I think it is time to move on to the main event, said Issei, as his aura swelled around him, causing wind to blow out from his position, pushing dust away from him. I can't wait, said Sereorg, as his power also flared, meeting Issei's in the middle, causing a loud clash to reverberate from their power alone. Line break. Wow, Issei is so strong, commented Irina in awe, watching the two release their energy. Yes, even when I fought Sereorg, his power was tremendous, but right now, I can feel it is even higher. I think he must have been training for his fight with Issei intensely, both before our battle and immediately following it, added Zenobia. I never knew Issei was this strong though, muttered Ravel in surprise. Elsewhere, 2 glasses-clad women were also watching the fight in interest. He is a completely different person than before, commented Sana, watching with a calculating gaze. Not only that, he has yet to use his sacred gear. This amount of power is terrifying, both his and Sereorg's, added Tsubaki, Sana's queen. Although, I'm sure he didn't plan this, but this will no doubt settle down many of the higher-ups, who were disgruntled with recent events. To be this strong without even using his sacred gear, a long Inu's at that. I don't think anyone would want to anger him, added Sana, before refocusing on the fight. Line break. Well, Sereorg, since neither of us is holding back anymore, let me say this in advance, this was a great fight and I look forward to a time when we can both fight completely unrestrained, said Issei, with a smirk. Haha, I hope I can have some time to train before then. You truly surpassed my expectations, even without using your powers of light and balance breaker, you are almost a match for my full power. It is embarrassing, but also exciting. Keep getting stronger after this and I will do the same, said Sereorg, before his power intensified again, pushing Issei's away and pushing him back slightly. Issei crossed his arms over his head, as Sereorg slammed an axe kick down on them. Issei quickly opened his hands and grabbed onto Sereorg's right leg and swung backwards, slamming Sereorg into the ground. Sereorg placed his hands down in front of him, cushioning the blow, in a modified push-up position, before twisting his body, throwing Issei to the side. Issei flipped in midair, slamming his hand on the ground to slow his movement, only to find Sereorg charging him with a right fist. Issei quickly charged to meet him and at the last moment, gave a right palm thrust to Sereorg's inner elbow, numbing it temporarily, before twisting his body and launching his left elbow into Sereorg's gut, stunning him. Sereorg bent over slightly, looming over Issei's left shoulder, only for Issei to grab the back of Sereorg's head in between his hands and run forward, before falling to the ground, slamming Sereorg's head against the ground, Issei's back hitting it as well. Issei quickly flipped over Sereorg and grabbed him around the waist, before giving a mighty heave and suplexed the larger fighter over his head, slamming him head first into the ground. Issei didn't let go after his maneuver and picked Sereorg up again, quickly turned around, before hefting Sereorg up and harshly down, into another suplex. Sereorg quickly brought his legs up and slammed them into Issei's chest, breaking his hold, before roughly getting to his feet, blood trickling down his forehead, from a cut within his hairline. Sereorg charged Issei again, this time, with a palm thrust of his own, and slammed it into Issei's right shoulder, spinning him, before launching a sidekick into the small of Issei's back, propelling him towards the stadium wall. Issei slammed into the wall harshly, with a crunch, causing quite a few to cringe, at what sounded like bones breaking. Issei pulled himself out of the wall, only for Sereorg to suddenly appear behind him and push his face back into the wall. The wall suddenly vibrated, as Issei gave a deep growl and launched his right elbow back, nailing Sereorg in his ribs, before spinning and launching a roundhouse kick, which sent Sereorg into the stadium wall to Issei's left. Issei took the brief reprieve to crack his nose back into place, grimacing as he did so, before spitting out a wad of blood, from when he had bit his cheek, when Sereorg slammed him into the wall the second time. Sereorg clambered out of the wall as well, spitting out a wad of blood, as he moved his jaw around carefully. Issei grinned, before rushing Sereorg again and tackled him into the wall. Issei somersaulted back, avoiding Sereorg's downward punch at his back, before launching a push kick into Sereorg's chest, slamming him back into the wall and digging further into the construct. Sereorg then grabbed Issei's ankle and twisted. Issei turned with the motion, to avoid having his ankle shattered, but couldn't protect himself from Sereorg's elbow slamming into his knee, causing him to cry out in pain, as the joint barely held on, under the immense power. Placing his hands on the ground, Issei twisted his legs, hoping to throw Sereorg, but he released Issei's leg and slammed his fist into Issei's gut, cratering the ground under him and causing spittle and blood to fly from Issei's mouth. Issei recovered quickly and grabbed Sereorg's arm, before throwing him over his legs, back towards the center of the stadium. Issei pushed as much energy into his legs as they could handle and charged after Sereorg. As Sereorg's body flew through the air, Issei was upon him and launched numerous punches along his torso, before disappearing once again and reappearing in front of where Sereorg was flying. Issei crouched down and waited for Sereorg to reach him, before launching a back kick into Sereorg's back, launching him into the air. Sereorg groaned at the recent onslaught he had experienced, before widening his eyes slightly, as Issei has appeared above him. "Take this!" shouted Issei, before slamming a double axe handle, right into Sereorg's gut, sending him flying to the ground. The crowd gaped at the massive explosion that occurred, when Sereorg impacted with the ground. The walls themselves were already cracked and would need repairs after the fight. The ground was cratered in numerous places and many wondered if the stadium would even last the match. Issei slowly fell to the ground, creating a small crater on impact when he landed and dropping down to one knee, breathing heavily. Blood was still running down his nose and out of his mouth. Issei ripped off his school blazer, wondering why he hadn't clothed himself in something more appropriate for fighting, as he then ripped off his white, long-sleeved dress shirt, leaving him clad in his red t-shirt, showing his muscles and also, quite a few welts on his arms, from blocking Sereorg's hits, as well as the impact of launching his own attacks. His pants were also frayed, revealing his ankles and the lower part of his shins. Sereorg groaned, as he stood up from the crater, taking a full 10 seconds to get back to a vertical base. His white vest was in tatters after the onslaught it had taken and his black bodysuit was torn in many places, revealing fresh blood, dripping from his arms. "I must say, this has been one of the most enjoyable and also most painful fights I've ever experienced. You are truly a worthy opponent, so much so, that I no longer feel worthy to witness your full power, if I'm losing this badly when you are handicapped," said Sereorg, panting as he did so. "Well, you're not making it easy for me either," chuckled Issei weakly. "I'm not sure how much longer my body will hold together, so what do you say to one last attack, to finish this?" propositioned Sereorg. "Sure, why not?" agreed Issei, with a grin. The crowd had been cheering wildly for the past 10 minutes, but neither Issei, nor Sereorg could hear them anymore. They were too immersed in their battle to care. Issei and Sereorg both gathered energy to their right fists, their auras concentrating solely to their fists, leaving the rest of their bodies. Fatigue was setting in for both and just doing this was a task, but do it they did. Issei stood to his feet and Sereorg strengthened his stance. The two faced off, both grinning fearlessly, before they burst at each other. The two reared their fists back and swung, causing an explosion of energy and blinding everyone temporarily. As the spots dancing in everyone's vision started to fade, they saw Issei with his right fist lodged into Sereorg's gut, a solid uppercut to the solar plexus, doubling him over slightly. Sereorg had launched a wicked cross, right into Issei's jaw, tilting his head to the side. There was silence for a moment, as the crowd waited with bated breath to see who would fall. Issei dropped to his right knee, stopping himself from meeting the ground with his left fist. The crowd was just about to cheer for Sereorg's victory, when the devil wobbled unsteadily on his feet and fell, right onto Issei's shoulder. "You're amazing, Sereorg. You were barely holding on at the end there. You took my hit and weren't even conscious anymore, but you still managed to land your blow on me. You are truly a worthy opponent as well," muttered Issei. Issei weakly raised himself and Sereorg to their feet, before raising his left fist high into the sky, in victory. The crowd's roar was deafening, eardrum shattering. A fight such as this was truly worthy of praise and the spectators showed it. Issei struggled to carry Sareorg away, before Sareorg's queen, a beautiful blonde-haired girl, came and took him from Issei, despite the difference in size between the two. Issei breathed a sigh of relief, and turned towards his waiting room. He took one step, before his eyes closed and fell forward, unconscious. Talking. Thinking. Drake talking and sacred gear sounds. Drake thinking. Expression. Flashback. Chapter 10, It's All in Your Head. Issei gave a small groan, as he returned to consciousness. It took a moment for Issei to remember what had happened. After a minute, he realized he had passed out, after his fight with Sareorg, and fallen flat on his face. Yeah, that must have hurt. Commented a voice, which made Issei freeze. Looking to his left, Issei saw milky white skin, covered in threadbare leather attire. As his gaze traveled upwards, he saw two distinct wings. Black wings. Wings of a fallen angel. Hesitantly, Issei raised his head the rest of the way and gazed at the visage of the person standing to his right. He could never mistake those violet eyes, coupled with an ironically angelic face and long black hair. "Hi Issei, missed me?" asked Rainare in amusement. Issei merely started at Rainare with a scrutinizing gaze, before weakly raising his right hand to his face and pinching his cheek, as hard as he could. "Oh, don't be like that. It's not a dream, I'm here, with you, Issei," cooed Rainare, leaning closer to Issei. Issei kept his gaze on Rainare, even as she walked closer to him. If this was a dream, Issei was ready to wake up right now. As it stood, he was exhausted, and even someone like Rainare, weak as she was, would have a reasonable chance of killing him. Issei weakly tried to sit up, away from the smiling visage that was approaching him, only to hear someone open the door to his room, causing both him and Rainare to look at it. Once the door opened, Ravel was revealed, looking somewhat tired, but she perked up upon seeing Issei. "Issei! You're awake!" exclaimed Ravel in joy. Issei couldn't return her enthusiasm, as he glanced to Rainare, who Ravel seemed completely oblivious of. "I'm awake?" asked Issei slowly. "Of course you are," said Ravel, as she approached Issei from his left side, opposite Rainare. "Your match was spectacular, however, after Sareorg was carried away by his queen, you passed out and I brought you back here," explained Ravel. It was at this point that Issei took in his surroundings and noticed that for a hospital, or medical bay, the area was rather decorative. Lots of precious metals and stones dotted the room, even his sheets were silk. Issei glanced over to Rainare again, before turning back to Ravel. "How long have I been out for?" asked Issei. "Almost a full 12 hours now," said Ravel, with a hint of worry in her tone. Issei's eyes widened in surprise. "What about Sareorg?" asked Issei. "He woke up an hour ago. It is possible you needed longer to recover because he landed his attack to your head," answered Ravel. "I see," said Issei thoughtfully. "I'm surprised though, Issei. I mean, what's the difference between her and that red-haired bitch? Both are pure devils, both are spoiled princesses, both have doting families. Really, what's the difference? Is it the blonde hair? Maybe you like younger girls. I guess you must be a masochist, considering that this will probably go the same way," said Rainare, finishing with a shrug. "If you are feeling better, you can get up and walk around for a bit," said Ravel softly. Issei grunted, before trying to get up. Ravel quickly went to Issei's side and helped him sit up, supporting his shoulder and holding his hand. Issei turned and let his feet rest on the ground, noticing that he was still in the same clothes he had been wearing at the conclusion of his fight, tattered pants and all. Issei stood up, with Ravel standing very close to him, before cracking his neck to the left and rolling his right shoulder. "I'm okay," said Issei to Ravel, who gave a small smile. "Whatever, it isn't like I've been watching over you all this time," muttered Ravel, with a small blush on her cheeks. Issei chuckled and patted Ravel on the hair, causing her blush to intensify. That must be it, you like little girls, don't you?" quipped Rainare. Issei firmly ignored her and made for the door, with Ravel quickly walking in front of him and opening the door herself. When Issei stepped into the hallway, his eyes widened when he saw Rainare resting against the wall to his right. Issei quickly looked back and saw that she was no longer in the room they had just left. "Is something wrong, Issei? Did you forget something?" asked Ravel in concern. No, I'm fine, said Issei, giving Ravel a small smile. As the duo walked, Issei couldn't help but notice that Rainare was walking right next to him. I mean, a girl with this much money, why would she want someone like you? Obviously for your status, but really, it isn't like you have much else to offer, said Rainare, with faux sadness. Ravel led Issei back to the room he had taken his nap in, before going to the game, and saw Irina and Zenovia sitting there, as they had before. Issei. We were so worried about you, exclaimed Irina, with a nervous expression. Yes, that was an excellent fight as well, added Zenovia. Oh look, 2 traitors. Well, I suppose that isn't really true, since they were never on your side to begin with. Quite frankly, I'm surprised you actually believed them. It's laughable, said Rainare in amusement. I'm fine, said Issei reassuringly. Fine. That's funny, if you had jokes like that for me on our date, I might not have killed you, laughed Rainare. Anyway, with that out of the way, I was thinking it might be a good idea to go home and rest, said Issei. Yes, that would be the smart thing to do. I'll get a magic circle ready for you, said Ravel, before leaving Issei alone with Irina and Zenovia. To think, you honestly thought these 2 cared for you. Then again, you thought I cared for you as well, so clearly you're a bad judge of people's intentions. I mean, I could have seen that red-haired skank using you a mile away. Say what you will about me, but when I turned on you, I was upfront about. She just kept manipulating you behind her smile. I'm almost envious of how manipulative she is, said Rainare, becoming wistful towards the end. How are you feeling, Issei? Asked Irina worriedly. I told you, I'm fine, really, said Issei, with a small laugh. Rainare laughed along with Issei, but for different reasons. Okay, if you're sure, said Irina reluctantly. How did you become so strong, Issei? You didn't even use your boosted gear, yet you beat Sarayorg and he is no pushover, I'd know, questioned Zenovia, lightly brushing her stomach in memory. Ah, betrayal is a beautiful thing, isn't it? Nothing serves to push someone more, am I right, Issei? Quipped Rainare playfully. Just training, I suppose. Senjutsu is really powerful, especially for brute strength, said Issei. Of course she wants to know. After all, if she can use you to get stronger, why wouldn't she stick around? Questioned Rainare. It's ready, said Ravel, as she re-entered the room and gestured for them to follow her. I have to say though, compared to the Red Whore, this one has a much nicer house, commented Rainare, looking to the roof. Issei looked at Rainare, who quickly matched his gaze. What? You know it's true. They might have had dozens of butlers and maids, but they had nowhere near this much gold, or anyway close to the number of jewels I've seen in this place, said Rainare. As the 4 walked over to the circle, Rainare stood off to the side. See you at home, Issei, giggled Rainare, blowing Issei a kiss. Issei pursed his lips, as his form was vaporized, before reappearing in his living room. Issei sighed for a moment, before a figure walked out from his bedroom. Welcome home, Issei. I've missed you, teased Rainare, putting on a faux sad expression and placing her index finger on her lips. Girls, sorry if this is abrupt, but I think I'm going to go take a nap, I'm still pretty tired after everything, said Issei weakly, giving a small smile. Of course, it would be best that you rest as much as possible, so you can recover quickly, said Ravel, with the other 2 nodding. Thanks, I'll see you all later, said Issei, walking to his bedroom. Oh, is this your way of saying you want to get down and dirty? My Issei, I never expected you to go straight from a grueling battle to a battle in the sack, said Rainare in surprise, before smirking. Issei ignored the fallen angel, but made sure to close his bedroom door. Not like it helped, since she was lying down on the bed. Come on Issei, what's that expression? Oh right, paint me like one of your French girls, purred Rainare. Issei walked to the bed and slid in next to Rainare, before turning his back on her. Oh, playing hard to get are we? That's fine, I have plenty of time. I'm not going anywhere after all. Good night Issei, said Rainare sweetly, blowing a kiss to Issei, before laughing. Line break. Issei awoke the next day, feeling 2 mounds pressing against his back. Issei stiffened, before feeling 2 tails wrapped around his legs. Oh, this one is hilarious Issei, I guess you do like bad girls. Although, you could barely touch me, even after I skewered you," said Rainare, standing in front of Issei, leaning against the door. Rainare walked over to Issei, looming close to his face. "I'm sure you wanted me to be the one to take your virginity though, didn't you? Don't deny it, I know the truth after all," said Rainare, with a smirk. Issei tried to get up, only to find Kurika had also wrapped her arms around his midsection. "I bet you think she is holding you like that because she cares about you. Sorry Issei, but she only wants your kids, you yourself are just a sperm donor to her. It isn't like she only wanted you, after all, she did ask the white dragon as well. You just happened to be the one to agree to being breeding stock. Sigh so sad, at least I pretended to actually care for you, before taking what I wanted," said Rainare sadly. After a bit of struggling, Issei managed to free himself from Kurika's embrace and finally decided to change his clothes. However, given his odor, he decided to shower first. As Issei grabbed his robe and carried it to the shower, he sighed upon opening the door and seeing Rainare there, waiting for him. "What? You saw me naked, it's only fair I get to see you naked as well," said Rainare calmly. Issei paused for a full minute, before sighing and stripping out of his damaged clothes. "Well, it's good to see you've buffed up at least a little since then. You were pretty scrawny after all. No wonder you couldn't get a girl," commented Rainare. Issei gave a small huff, before undressing completely and entering the shower. The shower wasn't particularly large, but it could probably fit 3 people comfortably. Obviously, Issei hadn't tested that to be sure though. Grabbing his shampoo and lathering his hair, Issei scrubbed for half a minute, before closing his eyes and washing off the suds. Opening his eyes again, Issei saw Rainare standing in front of him, only now, she was naked. "Want me to wash your back for you, Issei? I know you want me to," purred Rainare. Issei turned around, as he grabbed the soap and started to spread soap across his arms and upper body. "Oh, I see how it is, you'd rather I wash something else, wouldn't you, Issei?" teased Rainare, from behind Issei, who resolutely ignored her. "It's nothing to be embarrassed about, I am a fallen angel after all. Seduction is our greatest talent," quipped Rainare. Issei ignored Rainare, but finished up as quickly as he could. After dressing in his undergarments, Issei quickly realized that even though he had been out for a while, it was still the weekend. Sunday to be precise. Deciding a trip to heaven may help, Issei grabbed a plain, red, short-sleeved shirt and black jeans, dressed quickly, then made his way to his living room. Issei concentrated, causing his halo to appear above his head. Giving a small chant, a white line split down the middle of his apartment in front of him, before manifesting into a large door, which slowly opened, spewing bright white light. Issei walked through, before finding himself outside a pair of large gates, surrounded by marble structures. Calmly, Issei walked through the gates, emerging into a white fluffy area, which extended as far as the eye could see, before heading to the elevator. As he made his way through, he greeted everyone, who greeted him in turn. While the devils may have been unhappy at what happened, many in heaven were delighted. While the fallen angels, at one point, had the white dragon and the devils had the red dragon, heaven was left without a dragon. That isn't to say they were disadvantaged, Tulio was a true force to be reckoned with, but having a dragon of their own, eased their souls. As the elevator finally reached the 6th floor, Issei made his way to where he knew the seraphs would be. It was rare for all of them to be present and today was no exception, but both Michael and Gabriel were present and of all people, Tulio was there as well. "Ah, hello Issei, I trust you have been well," greeted Michael, once he noticed Issei. "Yes, things have been going well recently," replied Issei, with a smile. "Wow, I've never been to this level before. Funny to think a shameless pervert like you actually managed to get up here," said Rainare, walking past Issei and looking around in awe. "Well, for the most part," amended Issei, his smile shrinking slightly. "Is something wrong Issei? You know I'm always willing to listen to anything you would like to discuss," said Gabriel pleasantly. "Seriously. Her boobs are huge. Even bigger than mine, much as I hate to admit it. How did someone like you get rescued by someone like her?" commented Rainare in shock. "I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to speak with you sometime soon, but I came today in hopes that you may have need of me. I've been growing somewhat restless I'm afraid," confessed Issei nervously. I don't mind if he comes along with me. It would be nice to have some company," said Dulio, giving his input. "I see, in that case, Issei, there have been a few reports recently, of something rather disturbing. A rather unnatural energy source, near Romania. It is close to the dominion of the vampires, but not actually within the territory itself. It has gotten our attention, as the feeling is similar to the output of a Longinus. We have no idea if it is controlled or not, nor who it may be coming from. Ideally, you should only scout the area for information, but if a conflict is unavoidable, do try to not let it escalate and return as quickly as possible. We have never been on good terms with the vampires and our investigating so close to their area is bound to cause tension," explained Michael. "No worries, if we need to remain undetected, I'll be able to cloak both Dulio and myself, with key," said Issei. "In that case, you can leave whenever you are ready," said Michael calmly. "All right, let's do this, Dulio," cheered Issei. "You're rather enthusiastic," commented Dulio in amusement. "What can I say? I've had a lot on my mind and this sounds like just the thing, to help distract me from my current thoughts," said Issei. "Oh, you can try, but we both know I'm going to be on your mind, whether you like it or not," teased Rainare, leaning over Issei's right shoulder, whispering into his ear. Line break. Issei and Dulio were walking through a dark and slightly foggy, mountainous terrain. There were numerous mountains in the distance and off to the west, a civilization could be made out. A rather large town from appearances, but, it was in fact, the location of the vampires. The two jokers were a good distance away though, appearing only as tiny specks in the distance, to anyone who would try to spot them, enhanced vision or not. "What are you eating, Dulio?" asked Issei, noticing Dulio was eating a rounded, cylindrical sandwich. I believe this is known as a kebab," replied Dulio, taking another bite. "And exactly where did you get it from?" asked Issei in surprise. "I always carry a few types of food with me. It helps make longer journeys more interesting," replied Dulio. Issei blinked in confusion, before giving a slight shake of his head and ignoring it. Dulio and food had an interesting relationship, one that was best not attempted to be understood. Issei had found out that Dulio was a food aficionado, but not out of gluttony. He brought back any new and exciting foods he found to children of various orphanages, hoping to give them a taste of exotic cuisine and buoy their spirits. Issei had also heard that upon hearing about a new food, Dulio would become unreachable. "I just wonder what could be so important to rile up the higher UPS," muttered Issei. "Funny, that rhymed. If anything though, I would think it would be a Longinus of some sort," said Dulio calmly, taking another bite. "Ugh, not another one. Why do I always happen to run into overpowered people?" lamented Issei. "That's funny, considering you are the poster boy for overpowered. Light powers, senjutsu, and the ability to boost your abilities indefinitely, isn't exactly mundane," retorted Dulio cheerfully. "And complete control over the elements is nothing, right?" quipped Issei. "Well, I'd still say you are the more powerful one in brute strength. I may be more versatile, but you hold the capacity for devastating singular attacks," said Dulio pleasantly, as he finished his snack. "Hi kettle, I'm pot," scoffed Issei, getting a smile from Dulio. "So, what has been troubling you lately, Issei?" asked Dulio calmly. "Me? Troubling you? How rude. I thought I was your girlfriend," said Rainare, from beside Issei. "Just some stuff from my past," said Issei, with a small grumble. "You know, Issei, living in the past is dangerous. If we had continued to do that, our faction might not even exist anymore and neither of us would be angels right now," said Dulio happily. "Yeah, I'd be dead too," snorted Issei. "Come now, Issei, Gabriel wouldn't want you to act like this, especially after how much you two bonded," said Dulio, with a sad smile. "I guess," said Issei quietly. The two continued walking, before feeling a spike of energy. "That felt rather powerful, wouldn't you say?" asked Dulio. "Yeah, and I felt an almost dragon-like presence, but it felt warped," commented Issei. Issei paused for a moment and expanded his senses, before feeling a very strong power. "I'm cloaking us now, whatever that thing is, it is best we avoid it. A battle would bring way too much attention to us," said Issei, before expanding his key cloak over both Dulio and himself. The duo followed the source of the power, with Issei leading the way. As they climbed over a moderately sized hill, they saw a deep basin, with an eerie purple glow coming from it. "I'm guessing that is what we are looking for," muttered Issei. Dulio looked over the area carefully, before stretching his awareness through the wind. "That is definitely a Longinus," commented Dulio seriously, before the two heard a low rumble, followed by the sound of heavy wing beats. "Quick, get down!" exclaimed Issei, pulling Dulio to the ground. It was just barely quick enough, as a dark green, western dragon, shot into the sky after that, flying away in the direction, opposite of the nearby vampire settlement. "I guess your search is over then, since that was Grendel," spoke Drake, manifesting on Issei's hand. "What do you mean? Why is the search over?" asked Issei. "I myself fought with Grendel long ago. That being said, after I was sealed into this gear, I've been listening out for the other dragons as well, not just Albion," started Drake. "Your point being?" asked Issei. "Grendel was slain by Beowulf," said Drake simply. "I see. That does indeed end our search, since only one sacred gear could possibly be behind this. To think, the Holy Grail would be here of all places," said Dulio seriously. "We better head back then," said Issei, to which Dulio nodded. Line break. "The Holy Grail you say, that is troubling," said Michael, as a frown crossed his gentle features. "Do you know who might be behind it?" asked Issei curiously. "No, nothing definite, but given how quiet Cow's brigade has been lately, there is a possibility they may be behind it. Additionally, given the location, it may also be the vampires," said Michael thoughtfully. Dulio and Issei exchanged slightly worried looks, before Michael spoke again. "In any case, well done on your successful mission. I suppose the others and I should deliberate on how to respond to this and liaise with the other factions as well. You are both free for now," said Michael, causing Dulio to give a smile. "Splendid, I heard of a particularly interesting cuisine in France, so I might pop by for a visit," said Dulio cheerfully, before giving a small bow and heading off. Issei couldn't help but chuckle at his counterpart. Dulio was truly unique in how positive he could be at all times. "Shame you're nothing like him. I mean, you weren't even religious when you became an angel and you were full of lust. I suppose being the Red Dragon Emperor will keep saving you, time and time again," said Rainare in disappointment. "Gabriel, if your offer is still available, could we go for a chat?" asked Issei. Gabriel smiled beautifully, and even seeing Rainare in the corner of his eye, Issei couldn't help but smile as well. Gabriel's presence had become somewhat of a lifeline for him, and when she was happy, so was he. "Of course, come, we can walk past Eden," said Gabriel happily. Michael waved the two off, as they headed for the elevator. The elevator ride was short, but Gabriel was humming cheerfully and brought a smile to Issei's face once again. As the two exited the lift, Issei was astounded at what was in front of him. No matter how many times they came by, Issei always held his breath a little, upon seeing the majestic beauty, which was the Garden of Eden. A horticulturist would probably give their soul just to see the splendid sight. Numerous plants, exotic and common, decorated the entire area. Hues of green melded seamlessly with light blue, shifting to purple and dark reds. Bright flowers of yellow, orange, and pink were scattered throughout the much larger trees that reached upwards. Gabriel followed a well-traveled path, leading Issei to her favorite location and the common place for their conversations. A gigantic trunk leading up into numerous strong branches and abundant large foliage. The sycamore tree had been a common fixture in all of their conversations, and just looking at it calmed Issei. "So tell me, Issei, what's troubling you?" asked Gabriel kindly, as she knelt down on the soft grass. Issei mirrored Gabriel and knelt down as well, taking a moment to gaze at the large tree next to them. "I've been having troubling visions and unpleasant memories recently. It started with only simple phrases that caused me discomfort, but it has progressed to me having conversations with my fears and even seeing apparitions," said Issei uncomfortably. "I see. I know it may be hard for you, Issei, but the more honest you are with me, the more I can help you," said Gabriel patiently, which caused Issei to sigh. "I've been seeing and hearing Rainare again," confessed Issei tiredly, feeling all his strength drained from him, at the simple admission. Gabriel's beautiful smile momentarily shrunk, before returning to normal. "If it isn't too much for you, I would like to hear more," requested Gabriel kindly. "Well, Before, it was just the same line she said to me before she killed me, but just recently I started having conversations with her in my dreams. After yesterday, I've started seeing her form in my mind, speaking and commenting on everything around me. Even right now, I can see her form standing next to you, looking at me with a mocking smile," said Issei wearily. Gabriel frowned at this, looking to her sides briefly and indeed, did not see anyone. "I see," commented Gabriel. "See, now she will write you off as a lunatic and throw you away like all the others," commented Rainare happily, which caused her to frown at what Gabriel did next. Gabriel had stood up and moved over to Issei, knelt beside him, and brought his head to the space between her bosom and her right shoulder, with her left hand, resting his head gently against her, as her right hand gently stroked the back of his head. "Issei. No matter what, Rainare is a part of you. As unfortunate as it may be, it is the truth," started Gabriel, causing Issei to sigh softly. "However, she doesn't define you. You are a special person, Issei," continued Gabriel. "Yeah, special because of your gauntlet," quipped Rainare, with a smirk, which was wiped off her face when Gabriel continued. "It has nothing to do with being the host of Drake, but rather, because of your heart. Even before, when your mind was awash with lust, you were still caring and kind. You fought to protect your friends solely because you felt it was the right thing to do, not out of a sense of duty," said Gabriel calmly, pulling Issei's head off her and looking him in the eyes. "Yeah, look how that worked out for you," scoffed Rainare. "I know that things did not turn out as you would have wished and I am deeply sorry for what you had to endure, but you did endure it and survived, because you are strong," finished Gabriel, smiling at Issei brightly. "I only survived because you reincarnated me," muttered Issei weakly. "That may be the case, but not everyone can be turned into an angel, Issei. There are 3 ways, as I'm sure you know. The first is through devout worship, the second, through strong faith, and the third, do you remember, Issei?" asked Gabriel calmly. "To have a kind heart," said Issei, with a small smile, causing Rainare to grunt. "Exactly, you are the one who survived. You are the one who persisted and you are the one who held strong. Issei, as I have said before, no matter what happens, you will always have my love. It is yours to have and I will never take it from you. Remember, Issei, though you have suffered much and gained little, I will never ask you for more than you can give and you have my love forever. Remember those words, Issei. Engrave them in your heart and no matter what happens, no matter what trials and tribulations you may face, you will always have me on your side, that is my assurance to you. While Rainare may be a part of you, remember also, that I am too. Even if she troubles your heart and mind with doubts, remember that I will be here for you, always," said Gabriel kindly. The sincerity in Gabriel's words warmed Issei's heart. True, Rainare was still there, a little off to the side and sporting a grimace, as she gagged, but Issei couldn't care less. "Thanks, Gabriel. That really helped a lot," said Issei softly. Gabriel smiled and kissed Issei on the crown of his head. "Of course, Issei, you have no need to worry. I will be with you forever. Throughout it all, you can always come to me if your heart is heavy," said Gabriel, with a smile. Issei wasn't quite sure what came over him at that moment and it would still be on his mind for weeks to come, but without warning, Issei leaned forward and kissed Gabriel herself, right on her lips. Gabriel was surprised at the action and even the apparition of Rainare looked on gobsmacked. Issei quickly retracted his head, with a huge blush on his face. Forgive me, Gabriel, I'm not sure what came over me," stuttered Issei nervously, only for Gabriel to laugh softly. "It is fine, Issei. I told you, no matter what, you have my love. Angels are not beings without emotions, if we were, the fallen would have never existed," said Gabriel reassuringly. Issei risked a quick glance to Gabriel and upon seeing her smile, relaxed slightly. I see," said Issei, calming down slightly. "Issei, if you love me in such a manner, do not be embarrassed. When God created both Adam and Eve, in this very garden, it was always the natural way of things, for man to love woman and for woman to love man. I see no reason why we could not pursue the same intimate relationship, as I know your heart is pure and you know mine," said Gabriel softly. Are you sure?" asked Issei in surprise. "Of course. You have suffered much and gained little, but if being with me eases your soul, I would be happy to explore our feelings together," answered Gabriel happily. Issei simply smiled. I would like that, said Issei happily. Line break. Gabriel, is there something you wish to tell me? Asked Michael, once Gabriel returned, without Issei. Issei has been experiencing uncomfortable recollections of his past, explained Gabriel. I see, said Michael solemnly. I believe I was able to calm his heart, so much so, that he has officially expressed his interest in pursuing a romantic relationship with me, said Gabriel. I see, said Michael in surprise, his eyes widening slightly. Yes, I could tell after a few weeks of interacting with me, he had begun to develop feelings, but I didn't expect them to grow to this level, commented Gabriel thoughtfully. What are your feelings on the matter? Asked Michael curiously. I can comfortably say I love Issei, as I love everyone. Whether it is something more than that, I am unsure, but I am willing to attempt it. We are beings of love after all, said Gabriel. I see. I wish you my best then. It is rare for angels to interact in such a manner, but if it is through love, I'm sure the outcome will be good, said Michael optimistically. Line break. Issei, meanwhile, was still in shock at what he had done. I kissed Gabriel, thought Issei in shock. What the hell? How could you kiss another person, with me standing right there? Shouted Rainare indignantly. I kissed Gabriel. I really did, continued Issei, completely ignoring Rainare. Hey! Pay attention to me! Snapped Rainare, clicking her fingers in front of Issei, as he sat down on his couch, unmoving. I actually kissed Gabriel, me? Muttered Issei aloud. There was a loud thud outside Issei's door, before someone quickly entered his house and grabbed him by the collar. What? What did you say? Asked Azazel, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. I kissed Gabriel, muttered Issei, unaware of Azazel completely. Azazel looked at Issei in shock for a minute, before engulfing him in a hug. Issei, I hereby declare you, the one true inheritor of my will. My son. I'm so proud of you, cried Azazel tearfully. Rainare just sighed in the background. Great, now the only person who can actually hear me, is a freaking vegetable, grumbled Rainare sourly. Talking. Thinking. Drake talking and sacred gear sounds. Drake thinking. Expression. Flashback. Chapter 11, The End is Nigh. It had taken Issei the rest of the day to finally regain himself, and upon doing so, he was surprised to see a frame of diamonds on his table, featuring both him and Azazel. The only problem was Issei had no recollection of ever taking the photo. I think I missed something, thought Issei. You kissed Gabriel, which turned Azazel into a massive manifestation of pride. He also named you his successor, inheritor of his will, one true son and idol from this point on, said Drake. Oh, wait, what? Asked Issei in shock. I must say though, I never expected you to do something so daring. Perhaps as your former embodiment of lust, but not now. I must have missed something for this to get past me, commented Drake. Issei blinked, before seeing a hand being waved in front of his face, only to turn and see the annoyed visage of Rainare. Finally. Do you have any idea how long I've been trying to get you to snap out of it? Sheesh, just because she is a seraph, doesn't mean you need to shut down completely. She's just another girl after all, how is she any different to the others? Shouted Rainare in irritation. Issei smiled at this. Not because Gabriel was just another girl, but because Rainare was irritated. You know, I might just like seeing a jealous Rainare everywhere I go, thought Issei. Partner, you do realize she is just a manifestation of your mind? Questioned Drake. Didn't stop her from making me feel insecure, retorted Issei. You know I can hear both of you. You both suck, huffed Rainare. Your fragile mental stability aside, partner, you should probably go to bed, since it is midnight now and you do have school tomorrow, said Drake. Issei mentally nodded, before making his way to his bedroom, only to see a massive photo of a grinning Azazel, giving him a thumbs up, hanging on his wall. Issei's eye twitched at the sight, before he gave a defeated sigh. You know what, nothing can bring me down right now. Yawn well, emotionally, I need a nap though, muttered Issei, before plopping himself onto his bed and pulling the covers over himself. Line break. The morning came quickly for Issei and he woke up alone for a change. Come on, get up already, whined Rainare unhappily. Well, almost alone. Issei got out of bed, without much fanfare, before grabbing another version of his school uniform. It was a good thing he had a spare, as his other pair was nothing more than shredded and tattered material now. Quickly dressing, Issei headed off to school, ignoring the figure that tried to gain his attention. Issei made his way to his seat and sat there, ruminating on what he had done. I hope I didn't mess things up. I mean, maybe Gabriel was just being kind. Thought Issei. Yes. I knew it. You know I'm the only one who would ever show any interest in you. Declared Rainare triumphantly. With all due respect, partner. I'm not even sure if a pure angel understands romantic interactions. A fallen angel, sure, but I think Gabriel may be too innocent. Commented Drake. See, Drake agrees with me. Said Rainare, hopping onto Issei's desk, swinging her legs off the side playfully. However, in my opinion, I believe that if any person could make an angel understand that type of love, it would be you. Especially if that angel is Gabriel, from what I've seen. I think you are capable of doing what no one ever has before. Continued Drake. Now why'd you go and say that, Drake? Whined Rainare. I'm not going to lower myself to having an argument, with a figment of imagination, of my host's rattled mind. Scoffed Drake. But by responding to me just now, you did. Quipped Rainare playfully. Drake grumbled at this, but didn't say anything further, causing Rainare to laugh, before focusing on the arriving students. Let's see, standard-looking male student, standard-looking male student, standard-looking male student, standard-looking female student, with larger breasts than the average, standard-looking female student, with pink hair, those two seem to be looking at you funny, standard-looking female student with glasses, creepy-looking male student with glasses, creepy-looking male student with a bald head, seriously, how are two virgins like that your best friends? Questioned Rainare, commenting on each student as they entered the classroom. Issei gave a small sigh at Rainare's mutterings. Acknowledging that she wasn't real, but was in fact, a part of his mind, was odd, but it made listening to her even weirder. Drake, if Rainare is a part of my mind, does that mean everything she says, is something I've thought, or actually think? Questioned Issei. I'll answer that, yes. Everything I say is true, or at least, a part of you thinks so. That being said, of all manifestations for me to take, that fact that I'm in this form, means that you really have not moved on from me at all. You could have thought of Volley, or Riser, even that red-haired skank, but you choose me, well, your mind did anyway. Oh, and look who just arrived. Said Rainare calmly, before becoming positively giddy towards the end. Issei didn't look, but he felt the healing prowess of the individual and knew who it was immediately. Do you think she feels bad? I doubt it. I mean, you've lost it how many times now because she died, or you thought she died. Obviously, when I had my way with her, but you actually went into Juggernaut Drive for that ungrateful elf. I mean, you drastically reduced your lifespan, irreversibly so, if it wasn't for that cat and for what? A girl who turned on you without any care for your feelings. Said Rainare darkly. Oh sure, she can heal the scratched knee of a little boy, but poor Issei's heart, ripped to pieces. Ha, it almost makes me happy she died. Said Rainare mockingly, having adjusted her position on Issei's desk, so her elbows were resting on the table, open palms held together, supporting her head from under her chin, while her legs waved in the air, above her lower back. You know Issei, I almost did feel sorry for killing you. It wasn't much, but it was there. I just wonder how much she regrets what she did to you. No one did more for her than you. Sure, Red reincarnated her, but you pushed for that and then after that, you protected her. Every single time. Only for her to spit in your face. Continued Rainare. Issei's expression couldn't stop itself from shifting to a frown, as he recognized the cold truth behind Rainare's words. He had done lots for the former nun, but she had cast him aside, carelessly. Oi, Issei, what's with the frown, one of your girlfriends dump you? Asked Matsuda, initially in concern, before switching to jealousy. No, just a bad memory. Said Issei, with a frown, momentarily catching a certain blonde's eye, before she quickly looked away in shame. That is something I've been wondering, what did happen between you and Asia? I was sure you were going to claim the pure maiden for yourself. Interjected Motohama, his glasses gleaming in the light. Yeah, all that hard work I put into teaching her about skinship was wasted. Added Kiryuha. You should ask her then. Grumbled Issei. I did, but she won't say. Responded Kiryuha, with a frown. Then just forget about it. I don't want to talk about it, and if she doesn't want to say, then just deal with it. Said Issei sourly, pursing his lips slightly. You sound pretty grouchy, Issei. What's the matter? Haven't had any release lately? Asked Matsuda, causing the eavesdropping Murayama and Katase to cringe. Perverts! Shouted Murayama angrily. Don't rile us up, or we'll be right there peeking on you today. Warned Motohama, with a creepy grin, which caused Katase to shiver. Wait, you mean you guys haven't been peeping recently? Asked Issei in shock, with a gobsmacked expression. No, we decided to look into what you said, about us being appealing to women with our own skills. Answered Matsuda, with Motohama nodding, surprising Issei. Really? Questioned Issei. Yeah, Motohama even got a girl's number. She was just a 6, nothing too impressive, but then again, when you're getting nothing, even a 6 becomes a 10. Recounted Matsuda, with Motohama puffing out his chest in pride. Really? That's surprising. Teased Kiryuha. You're just jealous, you're only barely a 6 yourself, so don't flatter yourself. Really, that's me being kind, you're really a 5, but I'll give you a point for your ability. Said Motohama dismissively. Wow, I really must have died because I never would have thought something like this was possible, back when I was alive. Commented Rainare in shock, pushing herself up on the desk and resting on her left thigh, with her left hand supporting her. I'm actually pretty shocked myself. Muttered Issei. Before any further conversation could occur, the teacher walked in and everyone took their seats. I don't even know why you bother coming to this place. I mean, what does it even matter, if you can't differentiate equations, when you could literally destroy this entire school and even the town if you wanted to? You could be doing much better things. Sighed Rainare dramatically. Issei actually took a moment to mull Rainare's words over, before simply shrugging. Rainare sighed once again, before turning around, so she was facing Issei directly. Issei kept his attention on the front of the class, ignoring the restless fallen angel, who kept fidgeting on his desk. When the bell rang, Rainare cheered and jumped off the desk, as Issei sluggishly stood up. Oh, don't be like that, I really want to see some familiar faces. Maybe the bitch who killed me will show up. Chuckled Rainare. As if a deity was on Rainare's side, upon exiting his classroom, Issei made his way outside, only to see a red-haired figure directly in front of him. Issei took a brief moment to look into the blue eyes he was previously mesmerized by, only to find them lighting a soft rage within his heart, which he thought had been extinguished. Issei. Started Rias, but Issei walked past the girl, ignoring her completely, shocking those who had seen the action. Ria's shoulders slumped at this and she made her way to the old schoolhouse in sadness. Oh, the silent treatment, fitting, for someone who is familiar with having lavish attention thrown at them, both in this world and her true home. Said Rainare approvingly. Issei didn't respond, but his facial expression hardened slightly. Issei made his way to a tree, near where he and his friends peeped on the kendo club previously. Situating himself under it, Issei closed his eyes and tried to relax. Something else you aren't telling us, Issei? Asked Motohama curiously, with Matsuda leaning over his shoulder. It's nothing. Grumbled Issei. Well, if you are ready to see something, then watch and learn, boys. Said Matsuda, with a grin, before making his way down to a familiar place that Issei had long since stopped visiting. Is he really going to start peeking again? Asked Issei, with a sigh. Just watch, he actually has a plan this time, a rather interesting one at that. Said Motohama, with a grin. Issei watched as Matsuda made his way towards the kendo club changing rooms, knowing they would be changing into their uniforms right now. Kendo girls. Come out here. Shouted Matsuda, getting Issei to look at him like he had gone insane. Did he discover he was a closest masochist or something? Asked Issei in shock. Just wait for it. Hushed Motohama. As expected, it took less than half a minute for the members to come out, prominently among them, Murayama and Katase. Now, I will have victory on this day because I have wood. Shouted Matsuda, disgusting some of the members, as he reached for his waist, before pulling a shina out, from the back of his pants, which had kept hidden along his back. Issei watched in undisguised shock, as Matsuda quickly, albeit ungracefully, ducked the attacks of the kendo club, occasionally striking a few members on the bottom, with his weapon when he could, particularly Kata's, whose face was starting to match her hair color. "Stop doing that!" shouted Kata's, after Matsuda had swatted her on the behind for the 10th time. "Never, not until one of you agrees to date me," quipped Matsuda. "In your dreams," shouted Kata's, as she charged at Matsuda angrily. The battle persisted for a few more minutes, with Issei starting to notice something. I think he has a thing for the pink-haired girl. That's about the 24th, or 25th time he has hit her behind, while all the others are on half a dozen," commented Rainare. "Stop that! Why the hell are you striking me the most?" roared Kata's, with a furious blush on her face. "Isn't it obvious? You are the true goal in my eyes. Your friends are appealing, but you will be my Momo," declared Matsuda. "Really? He compares the girl he is interested in with an AV idol," muttered Rainare disdainfully. "Well, they both do have pink hair, maybe that's something more appealing to him than a loli," thought Issei. Issei and Motohama continued to watch, as the two traded blows, with the other kendo club member, looking on in confusion at this turn of events. Kata's continued to grow more and more embarrassed, with every strike Matsuda landed on her, before finally reaching her breaking point. "Enough. Damn it. I'll go on one date with you, if you never peek on me ever again, and never swat me with that dem stick again," shouted Kata's, getting gasps of shock from the other kendo club members and triumphant grins from Matsuda and Motohama. "Haha. A fair price to pay, so be it," declared Matsuda. "Good," said Kata's, walking closer to Matsuda, until she was only half a meter away from him. "You'll pick me up outside the school gates, this Saturday, at noon," ordered Kata's. "Of course," said Matsuda happily. "Oh, and one last thing," said Kata's, before a swift movement caught Matsuda off guard and he found wood lodged, right where he would normally grow wood of his own. "That was for my ass, you creep," shouted Kata's furiously, as Matsuda slumped to his knees. "Ugh, you'll regret this, when I need this working at full capacity, to give us kids," groaned Matsuda, at Kata's retreating back. "I'm surprised that actually worked," commented Rainare, with Issei agreeing non-verbally, as his face was gobsmacked, mouth open wide and eyes even wider. "See, I told you he has a plan. That hit to the nuts though, that was probably a surprise for him," said Motohama in amusement. I didn't think he could pull it off, but he actually did it. I'm honestly impressed," said Issei slowly. "That's one small step for me, one giant leap for perverts everywhere," groaned Matsuda, after he hobbled over to Issei and Motohama. "If I was wearing a hat, I'd tip it to you, Matsuda. That was by far one of the stupidest things I've ever seen you do, but it worked," said Issei in shock, causing Matsuda to grin. "I planned this over the weekend. It always works with its tsundere in most shows and Kata's looked like a prime candidate, but damn does she have one mean swing. No porn for the rest of the week for me," said Matsuda, with a small groan. "I suppose now I understand why they are your friends. They are just as perverted as you were and twice as stupid and lucky," sighed Rainare, to which Issei grinned. "Now you just need to figure out how to keep things from crashing and burning," cheered Issei. Well, his first date can't go as interestingly as ours, Issei," cooed Rainare, causing Issei to frown momentarily, before his grin reappeared. "Just let me give you some advice. Don't take her to a park at the end of your date, it won't end well," said Issei, with both his friends looking at him in confusion, before nodding at his sagely advice. The park, where things started for Issei. Thought a nearby, eavesdropping, white-haired girl. Line break. The next day of school for Issei started off as normal as ever. Students slowly trickled into their seats, discussing the latest gossip, which in this case, actually dealt with the perverted trio. Many students were lounging around as well, too tired to be at school this early. A few were also surreptitiously watching the subjects of the gossip. Lastly, to top it all off, Rainare was lounging on Issei's desk. Completely normal. Well, it was normal for Issei, as of late at least. "I still can't believe he actually got a girl to go out with him," Didn't you guys threaten to rape people with your eyes? How on earth does someone get past that? Asked Rainare, still in shock. Upon Katase entering the classroom, the chatter quieted down temporarily, but once she took her seat and didn't show any odd behavior, everyone calmed down, with a few actually groaning in disappointment. What drew a few interested glances was when a beautiful brunette, that no one could recognize, entered the room. "Oi, Issei, is that a new student?" asked Matsuda. "Why would I know?" asked Issei in bewilderment. "Well, recently, every new student to show up had known you. Just thought you might have known this one too. We actually thought you were slowly bringing your harem into the school," confessed Matsuda in embarrassment. "Oh, I know who that is. This will be fun," said Rainare, confusing Issei. "How does Rainare know someone that I don't, if she is a part of me?" thought Issei in confusion. "Well, clearly I'm the smart part of you, since that girl is Kiryuha," replied Rainare. "Kiryuha!" shouted Issei in shock, getting a few to look at him in confusion. "Ah, why yes, it is me, Issei. I'm surprised you were the first one to realize," said the girl, now revealed to be not a new student, but rather, Ika Kiryuha, who, from the looks of things, had one hell of a makeover. The girl pulled out a familiar pair of pink spectacles and put them on, but that still wasn't enough for some people. "Lies. There is no way that's Kiryuha. Kiryuha was a 5, this is a solid 9. Shouted Motohama in shock, his glasses gleaming. "Glad you think so. Truth be told, I never did care too much for appearances, but a 5? I couldn't take that lying down," said Kiryuha, twirling some of her hair around her right index finger. Kiryuha had changed her hairstyle, losing her twin pigtails. She now had lightly curled hair down her right side, while the hair on her left side was left straight and cascaded over her shoulders. Her bangs had also been pulled back, revealing her forehead and the rest of her face, with it now being pulled back and held together, with a lime green ribbon, which matched her eyes. "I am possible, the same 3 sizes, it can't be," muttered Motohama in denial. "I have to admit, I respect that." She couldn't be bothered dressing herself up for school, but when people question her appearance, she shut them up in the best way possible. Said Rainare in respect. "Now, let's face the truth here, Motohama, my glasses are more powerful than yours and you just said yourself I'm a 9, while to me, you're only a 6, but, play your cards right and maybe we can see what happens when you put a 6 with a 9. Smirked Kiryuha, getting a few blushes, from some of the nearby girls, who understood the insinuation. "Pretty bold too, I like her," added Rainare in amusement. Line break. "This is hilarious Motohama, Kiryuha completely destroyed you in front of the whole class," laughed Issei, with Matsuda chuckling as well. "I will not accept that it was Kiryuha in that classroom," denied Motohama. "Come on, you measured her yourself and your glasses never lie," commented Matsuda, getting a nod of agreement from Issei. But, if my glasses couldn't see the hidden potential of a 5 being a 9, just how much have I missed?" cried Matsuda in shock. "Well, for one thing, you could realize that a girl's 3 numbers don't define her," said Issei, getting both Matsuda and Motohama to look at him in shock. "What? Don't look at me like that. It's true. You can't just have sex with a girl for the rest of your life. There are other things to do," defended Issei. "That's right, you can get stabbed by them, reincarnated by them, sacrifice your arm for them, die for them again, sacrifice your life force for them, get betrayed by them, stop me at any time if you've heard all of these," quipped Rainare. "To think, it'd be Issei out of the 3 of you, with an actual brain," teased Kiryuha, as she approached the 3. I refuse to believe this is Kiryuha," spluttered Motohama, before feeling 2 hands rest on his shoulders. "Motohama, face it, you lost, Kiryuha beat your glasses," said Issei, with Matsuda nodding in agreement. Motohama dropped his head at this, broken at his defeat. "Oh, don't be a sore loser Motohama, besides, you might just get to go on a date with this 9. Said Kiryuha, with a smirk, getting the 3 of them to look at her in surprise. "I talked with Katase and she would much rather have company on her date, so I offered to have a double date between you, me, Matsuda and her. So what's it going to be?" asked Kiryuha. "Just take the offer Motohama. Not only did she beat you, let's face it, you are the one who said she is a 9, this is your best shot," said Issei. Fine, but I will upgrade myself from a 6 as well. I can't take this lying down, declared Motohama. That's fine, there is always stand and carry, but you need to have some actual strength, like Matsuda and Issei for that, smirked Kiryu. I'll show you. My perverted mind knows more than anyone in this country, declared Motohama. That might not be a good thing, you know, muttered Issei in embarrassment, palming his face as he did so. In that case, noon on Saturday, don't be late, said Kiryu, before turning on her heel and leaving. Issei watched Kiryu leave for a moment, before realizing something. It finally happened. The perverted trio all have girls for once, with real girls, shouted Issei triumphantly. Success, cried both Motohama and Matsuda. Although, you guys are still really far away from having a harem, while I'm up to, said Issei, trailing off towards the end, as he started counting his fingers. Matsuda and Motohama watched as Issei counted, and after he kept counting past 4, they growled in annoyance. Go die Issei, shouted the duo, causing Issei to laugh heartily. I wonder if they'd say that, knowing you already died once and almost did again just recently, teased Rainare, but Issei kept laughing. The perverted trio all had girls, real girls. It must have been a sign of the apocalypse. Talking, thinking, Drake talking and sacred gear sounds. Drake thinking. Expression. Flashback. Chapter 12, Surprises. The week so far had proved to be a rather lively one for Issei's class. First, there had been the madness of Monday, then the twisted events of Tuesday. Now though, everyone was waiting in anticipation for what Wednesday might bring. Well, any ideas? Asked Rainare, from her usual position atop Issei's desk, legs dangling over her back, but this time, she was supporting her head with her right hand and looking at Issei. Issei put his head back in thought for a minute, looking at the roof, before hearing someone clear their throat near him. Issei looked to his left and saw both Kiryu and Kate staring at him. Something you two need? Asked Issei in confusion. Actually, yes, said Kate firmly, causing Issei to raise an eyebrow in confusion. If you guys want protection for your dates, you'd be better off asking Zenovia. I still have no idea where she gets them from, said Issei calmly, before muttering the last part to himself. That's not what we came here for, cried Kate in annoyance. But thanks for the tip, added Kiryu, getting Kate to look at her, with an embarrassed glare. You see, Murayama hasn't been too happy with the week so far, and we also promised we'd go on our first date together, as best friends should, started Kate. I see, that must have made you tagging up with Kiryu hurt her feelings, commented Issei, with Kate giving a stiff nod. Yeah, well, in any case, Kiryu had an idea on how to help her, said Kate, before turning to Kiryu. Really? What did you think of? A makeover? Asked Issei in surprise. Before I answer that, do you really think Murayama needs a makeover? Asked Kiryu slyly. I don't think so. She'd probably be one of the top 10 girls in the school, in attractiveness, by my count anyway, said Issei thoughtfully, rubbing his chin in thought and looking up slightly. In that case, what would you say to joining us all, for a triple date? Proposed Kiryu, surprising Issei. What? Said Issei in shock. Well, let's just say, Murayama hasn't exactly had the best of luck with boys as of late. Outside of you three, she's had very little interaction with them at all, and for that reason, tends to come off as too aggressive to most, explained Kate. Sorry then, apologized Issei sheepishly. Well, in that case, would you mind being Murayama's date this Saturday? Asked Kate. Well, before I answer that, let me make sure you all have a few things clear, said Issei, getting a nod from the duo. You do realize I'm not exactly single. In fact, I've got about half a dozen girls who like me and I like them in turn. Not to mention, I've been fairly frequently doing it with one of them, said Issei, getting 2 nods from the pair, although Kate's was accompanied by a blush. That's fine. It's just for the day, and I don't think Murayama would care too much either. Just don't expect anything physical from her, said Kate sternly. Of course not, I'd never expect something like that, but are you sure she'd be okay with it? Asked Issei curiously. I'm sure, said Kate. Okay then, I wasn't planning on doing anything this weekend anyway, plus, it'd probably be funny to see how badly Motohama and Matsuda screw things up," said Issei, chuckling darkly towards the end. "Then Saturday at noon, don't be late," said Katase, before she and Kiryu walked off. "This is hilarious. You've gone from hated pervert to a non-sexual pimp. Oh, I wish I was alive, so I could laugh at this for real. Also, you really didn't need to mention your harem, or your bedroom activities, you just felt like bragging, didn't you?" laughed Rainare. Line break. Once again, come lunchtime, there was quite a large amount of chatter going on. "Issei, what's this about you going on a date with another girl from our class?" asked Irina, with a pout on her face. "I would like to know as well," added Zenovia. "Well, there isn't much to explain really, I'm going on a triple date with these two perverts, so the 3 girls we go with can all be happy," said Issei. "Mao, but what about us?" asked Irina unhappily, giving a small frown. That's a fair point I suppose. How about you two both move in with me at my apartment complex? I still have a few rooms free and this way we can spend more time together," proposed Issei. Irina and Zenovia quickly looked at each other, before breaking out into a smile, Irina's significantly larger than Zenovia's. "Okay, we can come over tonight then," cheered Irina. "Yes, I will come prepared as well," said Zenovia, pulling out a bunch of condoms. "For crying out loud, where do you keep getting these things from?" asked Issei, snatching one from Zenovia's hands. I have secrets too, Issei," said Zenovia proudly, confusing Issei. "I didn't mean where you get them from exactly, I meant where do you keep pulling them out of," clarified Issei. "My bra of course," said Zenovia, pointing down her shirt. "I see," said Issei, pocketing the condom, upon seeing dangerous glares being sent his way from Matsuda and Motohama. "Anyway, we'll see you later tonight then," said Zenovia, before she and Irina walked off. Issei turned to face his 2 friends, who were glaring at him in jealousy. "Hey, don't look at me like that, you guys have girls as well now," said Issei defensively. "Too many, you have too many and it isn't fair," commented Matsuda. "Well, too damn bad, I've struck out more than both of you combined in the past, so it is only fair I get more in the end, simply from how much effort I put into this harem thing. You guys just watched porn, for like a year, before doing anything," retorted Issei. "I suppose that's a fair point," said Motohama unhappily, with Matsuda reluctantly nodding. "Besides, this just means you can both profit from my expertise," said Issei in pride. "Oh yes, the expertise on how to get thrashed by your love interests, I'm sure they would love to know about that," drawled Rainare sarcastically. Line break. The day quickly concluded with little fanfare, but whispers of Irina and Zenovia moving in with Issei were starting up and would no doubt explode come tomorrow. "All right, I'll wait here for you both, so after you grab your stuff, we can all head home together," said Issei, getting an excited nod from Irina and a cool one from Zenovia. Issei stood by the gates, watching as everyone left, absorbing himself in a conversation with Drake. "So Drake, if Grendel came back, do you think other dragons will as well?" asked Issei in worry. "A strong possibility. Dragons were always feared for their power, after all, the threat of me and Albion simply fighting, united the 3 factions. It is worrying though, because the evil dragons, like Grendel, are in fact stronger than the current 5 great dragon kings, 6 previously, when Tannen was a part of the group," said Drake gravely. "So these dragons are even stronger than Tannen, man, that's not good," thought Issei. "It gets worse, considering that one of them, Kromkruik, was very close in power to Albion and I, last I heard at least," added Drake. "That is bad then, really bad," thought Issei in worry. Drake didn't reply to this, but Issei could feel his silent agreement. Issei closed his eyes in thought, before a voice broke him out of them. What?" asked Issei in confusion, as he looked up quickly, only to see Murayama in front of him. "I said can we speak for a minute, Issei?" repeated Murayama patiently. Sure, what's up?" replied Issei. "Well, Katase and Kiryu told me about this weekend, so I wanted to speak with you," explained Murayama. "That's fair I suppose, what's on your mind?" asked Issei calmly. "Firstly, you know that you don't actually have to do this, right? Asked Murayama, with a slightly narrowed gaze. Sure, I figured as much. Answered Issei coolly. Secondly, you better not expect anything physical to happen. Said Murayama, with a hint of warning in her tone. Like I told Katase and Kiryu, I know. I wouldn't expect you to anyway, you're better than that, otherwise, you wouldn't have beat the three of us up so much in the past. Said Issei, chuckling towards the end. Murayama gave a brief smile at this, before schooling her features again. In that case, I just want to ask you one last thing. Why? Asked Murayama. Why what? Asked Issei in confusion. Why would you agree to do this? If it were before your self-discovery thingy, I would have said it was because you were a horny beast, but if you already have a girlfriend, or multiple girlfriends, one of which you do certain things with, why would you want to go out with me, knowing nothing will happen? Asked Murayama carefully. A few reasons I suppose. 1. It'll be fun to see how badly Motohama and Matsuda flounder on their dates, that I can't miss. 2. I really meant it when I told Kiryu and Katase I have no plans this weekend and me being bored isn't a good thing. I get pretty destructive if I'm bored, or train excessively, neither of which are fun, despite what it may sound like. Said Issei thoughtfully. Murayama gave a soft sigh at this, dropping her head slightly. Lastly, who wouldn't want to go out with a beautiful girl like you? Even if it is only for a couple of hours, anyone would be lucky to take you on a date. Finished Issei, getting Murayama to look up at him searchingly. Really? Do you really mean that? Kiryu told me what you said, about me being one of the top 10 girls in our school, in your mind. Do you really mean that? I mean, compared to most, I'm pretty plain and boring, and I suppose a little violent too. Queried Murayama cynically. Of course I mean it. Even before I got a single girlfriend, you were always in my top 10 list, it's also why I never bothered peeking, on the rare occasions you didn't show up to school. Said Issei, leaning in closer and whispering conspiratorially towards the end, with a wink, to which Murayama laughed. I don't know if I should take that as a compliment, or an insult. Said Murayama dryly. Take it however you want, it's the truth. Said Issei, with a grin. Murayama couldn't help a small smile herself, as she examined Issei's relaxed face. You know something Issei, for what it's worth, I'm glad you went on your little self-discovery trip because you're a lot more likable now and much less of a pervert. Said Murayama honestly, but Issei couldn't help a small wince. Yeah. I suppose I wasn't the best sort of person, personality-wise, before that, but people change I suppose. Said Issei. Well, some people do, others just fool you for so long, that you never expect something from them. Added Rainare mockingly, causing Issei to frown. Well, for what it's worth, you're a lot more fun to talk to now at least, it also helps that you don't peek anymore. Said Murayama calmly. Thanks. Said Issei happily. I'll see you on Saturday then. Said Murayama, before walking off. It was only a few minutes later, that both Irina and Zenovia appeared, carrying a small amount of luggage. Ready to go? Asked Issei. Yeah. Said Irina somberly. Something wrong? Asked Issei in concern. It's nothing. Said Irina, before remembering what had just happened only minutes ago. Line break. Flashback. Line break. Irina had just finished packing her things, before heading down to Zenovia's floor. It helped that Irina's floor was free of any volatile personalities, but Zenovia didn't have the same luck, which made Irina somewhat apprehensive. When Irina had made her way to Zenovia's room, she noticed the door ajar slightly and could hear voices speaking. Irina couldn't make out what was being said, but she could hear one of the voices sounded quite bitter. All of a sudden, the door was opened and Akeno stormed out. The hybrid paused for a moment, to observe the angel and saw her luggage as well, before quickly making her way to her room and slammed the door shut behind her. After a moment, Zenovia walked out, carrying her luggage as well, in a blue carry-on bag, in contrast to Irina's brown. Problem? Asked Irina apprehensively. No problem. Replied Zenovia calmly, before the two left and made their way down the lift. Luckily, they didn't run into any of the other girls on their way, which made exiting the house easier than it could have been. As the two made their way towards the door, they saw Issei's father sitting in the living room, reading a newspaper. Where would you two be off to? asked Issei's father in interest, momentarily lowering his newspaper. Thank you for your hospitality, Mr. Hyudo, but Zenovia and I have made other living arrangements. Sorry for being such a burden on you for so long, and thank you for having us," said Irina, with both her and Zenovia giving a bow. "Ah, it was no bother at all, Irina, you're practically family after all. Do give my regards to Issei though, both of you," said the older Hyudo, before reopening his newspaper. "Yeah, what do you mean?" spluttered Irina. "I may not be the smartest man around, but I know enough about Issei and you to figure things out for myself. As long as Issei is fine with it, you both have my blessings. Now shoo before someone else gets down here. This house isn't as quiet as you'd think, and I can tell that you two don't want any more friction to occur between you two and the others," said Issei's father, not looking up from his newspaper. The two heeded the wise words and left immediately. As the two walked down the street, Irina noticed Zenovia looked rather calm, especially considering what may have just happened between her and Akeno. "Zenovia, what happened up there?" asked Irina kindly, but firmly. "It was as you'd expect, someone was clearly unhappy that we had been forgiven and they hadn't, that's all. Nothing too groundbreaking," replied Zenovia calmly. "Did you tell her where we're going?" asked Irina nervously. "No, but I'm sure she figured it out, more or less. Not the location though," said Zenovia. Irina sighed, but spared a glance back at the slowly shrinking building, as they walked away from it. Line break. End flashback. Line break. "All right, if you're sure," said Issei, snapping Irina out of her thoughts. The trio made their way to Issei's apartment in silence, before finally arriving, just as the sun had started to set. "So which rooms do you girls want?" "All the rooms are free, well, aside from mine obviously, but feel free to come by at any time," asked Issei. The duo looked at each other, before giving a silent agreement. "Could we have rooms opposite each other?" asked Irina. "Sure, ground floor, or the floor above that?" asked Issei. "The latter. It would be best if we are as close to you as possible, especially if we need to make a baby in the future," said Zenovia, getting Irina to look at her, with a blush. "I think if we were going to make a baby, we would probably need to be in the same room," laughed Issei. Fair point, but it couldn't hurt," responded Zenovia, with a nod. "No worries, let me just go grab you two your keys, 1 second, said Issei, before dashing into the complex. "Zenovia, you're still too forward," chided Irina. "On the contrary, Irina, it seems I'm beginning to see some success. Not only did Issei take a practicing tool from me today, he didn't say it was still too soon for us to talk about making a baby," said Zenovia calmly, causing Irina to pause and think on it. "Ah, here they are. Your room is on the left, Zenovia, and yours is on the right, Irina. Well, both are identical, so feel free to switch if you want to," said Issei, as he handed the girls a key each. "What about a key for your room?" asked Zenovia. "Ah, well, I do have a key, but I actually never really lock my door, which means people tend to come in on their own," said Issei, turning towards Irina at the end, who smiled cutely and stuck out her tongue. "So don't worry about that. The keys are just mostly so you girls can have privacy if you want it," explained Issei, before giving a yawn. "Well, I know it is only about 7 or so, but I'm feeling tired. Do you two need any help unpacking?" asked Issei. "No thanks, Issei, we should be fine," said Irina happily, with Zenovia nodding in agreement. "Cool, in that case, I'm going to go to bed. I normally leave for school at 8, so I'll come by and give you both a knock at 5 too, in case you want to go together. If you need more time to prepare, that's fine, but the offer is there," said Issei, before heading upstairs. Issei made his way to his room, opened the door and made his way to his bed, before lying down on it and promptly falling asleep, ignoring the fallen angel, who had been trying to get his attention on the bed completely, much to her chagrin. Line break. As Issei had said, he woke up, got dressed and made his way down to Zenovia and Irina's floor at 5 and knocked on their doors. Both girls were ready to go and the trio made their way to school, which started to set off whispers. High school, always gossiping, thought Issei in amusement. As the three made their way to their classroom and sat down, Rainare made her presence known, by standing on Issei's desk, instead of lounging on it. "Finally! I've been trying to talk to you for hours now," Don't you know it is rude to ignore a girl? Ranted Rainare. Also rude to kill someone. Thought Issei dryly, causing Rainare to laugh and resume her usual position on Issei's desk. I suppose that's fair. Oh, look who just walked in, standard-looking female student, with larger breasts than the average. Commented Rainare. Issei turned and noticed Murayama had indeed entered the classroom, and in a move that surprised Issei, gave him a small smile and wave, which Issei returned after a moment. Okay. That's it. I concede defeat. You are clearly the luckiest pervert in the world, to get a girl who you used to peek on, to like you. This is unfathomable. Uttered Rainare in shock. Issei heard a few people begin to mutter at this recent turn of events and couldn't help but laugh internally. What a week. Thought Issei in amusement. Line break. Come lunchtime, the trio of former peepers made their way to the same spot as the day before. After all, even though they stopped peeping, the spot was pretty comfortable, providing a large source of shade. Teach us, master! Cried Matsuda and Motohama, once Issei had sat down. What? Asked Issei in surprise. How on earth did you make Murayama so nice to you? You used to peek on her as well, but she didn't smash Ashina into your trousers. Asked Matsuda, wincing slightly at the phantom pain he felt. I just talked with her, it isn't that hard. Answered Issei in bewilderment, which was compounded when Motohama produced a notepad from somewhere, glasses fixating on him intensely. About what? Asked Motohama eagerly. Well, she asked me about my reasons for agreeing to go on the date with her. Started Issei, only for Motohama to eagerly start scribbling. What did you say? Asked Motohama, not looking up from his notepad. The truth. Firstly, that it would be really funny to see how badly you two flounder on your dates. Secondly, that I have no plans this weekend, and lastly, that who wouldn't want to go out with a beautiful girl like her? Recalled Issei. Whoa, that is gold. Said Motohama in awe, as he finished writing and looked up at Issei. With words like that, no wonder you've gotten a harem. Added Matsuda in admiration. What do you mean? Asked Issei in confusion. You must teach us to be like you, Issei. We will never tell you to go die again, as you were clearly sent to this planet to impart your wisdom on lowly perverted mortals, such as us. Said Matsuda, with Motohama nodding in agreement. Okay. First rule then, don't say stupid stuff like that. Said Issei, to which Motohama dutifully took notes, causing Issei to sweat drop. Secondly rule, always be truthful with a girl. Be genuine and don't lie to her. Continued Issei. Third rule, you know what, the third rule is to obey the first two rules. Don't be overly perverted and be honest and genuine with a girl, that's really all you need to do. Finished Issei thoughtfully. As the duo of harem-less perverts listened to the wise words of the harem-possessing pervert, none of them noticed a girl listening to them a short distance away, with another person next to her listening as well. Line break. The day finished off as normal for Issei, only this time, he made his way home with Zenovia and Irina in tow. Issei thought about asking Irina if Michael had told her anything about Grendel and what he and Giulio had investigated, but reasoned that if Irina only had two wings, she probably wouldn't have been told, and decided to visit Heaven himself, to get his answers, directly from the source. As the familiar door appeared in front of Issei, he entered the light and eventually made his way to the 6th floor. Only Michael was present this time, but that was all he needed for now. Issei, I wasn't expecting you back so soon. Said Michael in surprise. I was just wondering about a few things, to do with what Giulio and I found. Said Issei. What is on your mind? Asked Michael calmly. Well, for one thing, does Irina know about any of this? For that matter, exactly who does know about this all? Asked Issei. Irina does not know, and outside of the Seraphs and Giulio, only you know the situation as well. Answered Michael. I see. I also have a question more directly related to the issue at hand. Exactly how strong are the current measures we have against dragons? For that matter, since I'm familiar with it, what kind of chance does Ascalon have against someone like Kromkruik? Asked Issei. In reverse order, Ascalon would be capable of severely wounding and even killing a dragon of Kromkruik's caliber. The only problem is having someone who can fight him and survive long enough to be able to use it to its full potential. Aside from Ascalon, there is not a great deal many items we can use that are capable of specifically harming dragons. Explained Michael. Said Issei thoughtfully, before causing his boosted gear to appear and brought Ascalon out, sticking straight out of the red gauntlet. I suppose I should probably learn how to use a sword then. I mean, I can use the aura and boost it repeatedly for attacks, but I think direct contact would work better. Said Issei. You would be right in your line of thinking. However, even without Ascalon, you yourself are capable of harming powerful dragons, with your own abilities. Combine that with the boosted gear and you are a formidable opponent in your own right. However, given you have two very skilled sword wielders now living in close proximity to you, training is a very valid option for you as well. Said Michael. Issei raised an eyebrow, at the fact that Michael was already aware of Irina and Zenobia moving in near him, but didn't dwell on it, as he saw Michael quickly walk over to a small wooden table and grasp what looked like a few slips of paper. Now Issei, what I am about to give you needs to be kept quiet, particularly from the devils and fallen angels, the devils more so. Said Michael sternly. Issei nodded, prompting Michael to continue. You see, the Brave Saint system is ultimately quite limited, to 54 angels at that. However, as I'm sure you know, the devils have a system, allowing for multiple people to be converted, by those lower down in the power chain. The angels have had no success with this, as it seems no angel is able to bestow this sort of power on anyone, aside from the seraphs themselves. We haven't tested it with Dulio, as he does have a habit to be rather restless. However, with you staying with Gabriel and in heaven for close to a month, those on the floor below were able to glean something from yourself. Explained Michael, surprising Issei. You mean that's what those energy tests were for? I thought that was just to measure my powers as an angel, coupled with the boosted gear. Questioned Issei. Indeed it was. However, through this process, we determined that you may be capable of reincarnating angels yourself. The boosted gear already possesses an innate transferring ability, and coupled with that, it works on your desires and responds to your will. Said Michael, before handing Issei 3 blank cards, completely white on both sides. We were able to develop a few cards, which may be successful at reincarnating someone into an angel. However, even when others tried to use these cards, they were unsuccessful. Since they were directly created from the capabilities of the boosted gear, we believe only you can make use of them. Finished Michael. Seriously? Gasped Issei, taking the cards in his non-gauntleted hand and looking at them. That is actually quite interesting. Michael does make a valid point, and I do believe you may be able to do so, Issei. All sacred gears, not just mine, respond to a user's will. Given how you were able to come up with different versions of the boosted gear, with your ability to promote, it seems you would also be successful at converting people, through use of your transfer ability. It may also explain why your wings were red, my presence aside. Commented Drake, speaking from the gauntlet. We are unsure on just who they may work on, highly religious people, common humans, devils, fallen angels, yokai, even dragons, but we are entrusting them to you, in the hopes that you will find people to use them on and inform us of the results. Elucidated Michael. Devils you say? Muttered Issei thoughtfully. I understand your thoughts, Issei, but should you follow through, please be mindful of the ripples you may create. Said Michael sternly. I will. Said Issei calmly, fully expecting Michael to determine what he was thinking, given what Michael had just, moments ago, revealed to him. In that case, you may leave now if you wish. Gabriel is not here currently, unfortunately. However, if there is anything else you would like to discuss, feel free to come to me as well. Said Michael. All right. One last thing though, should I tell Irina about any of this? Asked Issei. If you do what I think you will do, which I urge to think carefully on before proceeding, you may, but only about the cards. It would be best if we not alarm too many, about the possible threat of numerous evil dragons returning. Answered Michael. Issei nodded, before giving a small bow and leaving. Michael let out a small breath once Issei had left. I do hope this doesn't cause even more tension between the 3 factions. Thought Michael grimly.